a league.
Yep.
You think back of the old way NIP played, this was a map that they played day after day.
It's a comfort map.
Exactly, and I think that Bank is a really good map for G2 though. Like, I think that's a map that if NIP lose on Kafe, G2 will get it finished on Bank because it's a map that I think they're really good on.
The interesting thing for me is the fact that G2 played Kafe yesterday against FaZe. As you mentioned, with Kafe being a strong map in the South America region, you've beaten the SI champions on this map. So it's a strange pick in the end from NIP, but it means they're backing themselves in comparison to what they think G2 can do on the map.
Well, only time will tell whether or not NIP will rise to the top or if G2 will continue stomping all over them. Boys, take it away.
So we head into playoffs here at the Esports World Cup. For Ninjas in Pyjamas, 2 best-of-1 wins at that rate. It means they've not dropped a map so far at the event. Obviously for G2, though, it's been all the hype for them and their rookie sensation. But as we've kind of pointed out, Loira is not to be disregarded. And certainly for NIP, they need to be wary of the fact it's not just a one-man team for G2.
And then you got to wonder for NIP, is the fact that they have only played 2 best-of-1s going to be a hindrance? You know, they played on day 1 game on day 2, didn't play yesterday. Yes, they would have been scrimming and maybe working with some of the teams that qualified or didn't qualify.
Well, no, they had the day off.
That's what I mean, but is that going to help them be warm coming into action today?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, you can take the benefit in the sense that you had the day off. You also got to watch the games. That means you can prep a little bit better as well. So it's more of the behind-the-scenes work that NIP did yesterday on the different side of the coin for G2. It's more of the in-server work that they did yesterday against FaZe, and boy, did they do a good job. As we head into our opening map of Kafe, it will be G2 on the defense first up. NIP will be attacking, and they're going to have to warm up pretty quickly against the G2 team that looked oh so dominant yesterday against FaZe Clan. For those unfamiliar, G2 winning 7-4 and 7-2. Those maps, Skyscraper and Kafe, respectively. The other factor as well, by the way, G2 ended up playing Lair against Shopify Rebellion. If you think back to day 1, that was a 7-5 loss. But they at least played it. That's the decided map. So I think G2 walk away from this veto very, very happy. You're going to their map pick in NIP, a map you just beat FaZe on yesterday. You then go into your map choice, and then your decider is a map you've also played. They would be racked with how that played out. Yeah,
they've definitely won the map bans for sure. Then looking at the actual in-game bans, Grim's gotten rid of on a map like Kafe. That's incredibly common. You think of positions like Piano when you're attacking top floor, even if you're trying to clear over by Cocktail. Really good operator to get rid of. But I'm looking at G2 starting on defense here on Kafe. They're going to be feeling pretty good about the way things are going to work out. Blaz, of course, on Warden. Really important job in a round like this here, especially as something, because when you think about it, even though Kafe is 3 stories tall, it's a really condensed map. Like, it does not take very long to get from one side of the building to the other.
It lives up to that vertical nature of the map, doesn't it? It's not as much of that horizontalness, where maybe even the opposite of that is maybe something like a map like Lair.
Yep.
For instance, later on, if we do go there. Big thing to watch is really for Ninjas in Pyjamas. We highlighted Hades, Fantasy, another one who's been performing really, really well in the 2 maps they played. Pino as well, in the first map that they played on day 1, not great. Second map, outstanding. So there's a lot of firepower for NIP. But really good, by the way, before we kickstart this playoff game, to see organizations like NIP, G2, deep runs, big event. It feels like the old days of Siege.
Oh, it's great to see. It really is. And you spoke about Pino. He spoke excellently in those interviews as well about what it was like for not playing an event for a couple of months and the preparation to get here and just breaking into the top 4 in Brazil. I'm excited to see what today's going to bring. Track Stingers will be thrown on red, no surprises whatsoever. You want to make sure that you cannot flank, and this is the thing, when you're attacking top floor, there's only 2 real places that you can get pushed from or come back up from, those blue stairs on one side or red on the other. But at this moment in time, NIP, this is what they do. I think it's a trap they fall in sometimes. They sit on windows for a long, long time. They drone forever.
To be fair, that's top floor Kafe as well in a nutshell. By the way, I mean, FaZe Clan did not get a single attacking round against G2 on this map yesterday. Good start from Collins, opening pick onto Stompin', so the kid will sit out the rest of this round. Trade onto Fantasy, though, from Loira. The reason why we highlighted Loira and how good he has been playing so far at this tournament, that he is low at the back of Freezer.
Missed opportunity there. I think we just saw the legs running past the stairs as NIP will still hunt for some kills. Wizard, of course, already pushes away into Cigar, and we'll get a nice headshot onto Alamau, which will open up a bit of space over by Cocktail side.
Just walking bar.
Yeah, the Lion Scan's enabling to walk a little bit further, but Loira with a double on the round here. 50 seconds to go, and look at the map control.
Loira was able to get out of Fraser, got that kill over at the white corridor, but eventually Wizard Cons, they'll double down, and that's a big start from NIP here on Kafe. Their map pick for a reason, despite what G2 did to FaZe yesterday. Wizard will just tuck in now for Freezer. It's only Doki left in a 1v3. Never unwinnable. 30 seconds remaining in the round. The Cons will now go for the plant over towards Bar. Hates will get the kill. NIP will be the first ones to let their voices do the talking here in this quarterfinal.
Nothing wrong with a bit of noise at the end of round number 1. Looking at G2 though, they're not that phased. It's Kafe, it's on defense, top floor.
Well, round 1 yesterday, Dark Zero, Kangaroo Kenny went absolutely nuts, got told off by the referee, and ever since then, DZ couldn't find a round.
You know,
so I think the noise does help.
Kenny did get a bit louder though. Like we were in the green. Well, you were casting the game, but I was in the green room and I heard every word he said, and it was a little bit more R-rated, I think, than what we just heard from the NIP side.
Well, good start, though, for NIP, because like you mentioned, when it comes to top floor Kafe, it's going to be that slower approach. But you kind of get given an opportunity because Stomping gets aggressive, goes for a look. Why? He's playing Jaeger, so he sets the ADSs, and he has the license then to go for these peaks. And then what happens as well? Alamau, sensing pressure, peaks from Cocktail. He then dies. So it's talking about peak, death for G2, opens up sight. So it's patience from NIP, and it's the perceived pressure they were able to put into the round. An early attacking round, really solid, because as I said, I mean, FaZe couldn't manage an attacking round against G2 and Kafe yesterday. So that's already in the opening round, job done from NIP on their map pick.
Typical Kafe setup that we're seeing right now, where a lot of the pressure is going to be outside the site from the defenders. They want to essentially force the attackers to clear the map. Doki, he'll play over by the bookshelf that's been turned over, and Blaz will play just inside of server, or, you know, Cake at things stand, but I'm looking here, there's nothing too crazy. I always point out the position that Loira's playing by Christmas Tree as you look in towards Freezer. You're playing there to stop the drop into that hatch. You've created the holes, the footholes at the bottom. So G2've got to make their mind up. Are you going to go full front and take on Doki? Or do you decide to go and clear Loira? Because you need to clear Loira if you want to drop that hatch and attack from the other side.
Pretty stock standard setup for G2 on the defense. They'll be playing for the long run in this round, so I'm not expecting a whole lot of firepower to come out from either team inside of probably the next minute. Big emphasis on clearing out this VIP section, though. Especially if NIP want to go for a freezer drop. The way they're posturing right now, it doesn't look like they're going to put too much emphasis towards Bakery. Fantasy down white stairs. So freezer side centric push. Certainly want to get this second floor control, open up the floorboards, put pressure on Kitchen. So it's default setup, the default setup.
Getting rid of the Valcams as well with the IQ is important when you consider the fact that G2 did have 3 C4s coming into this round, as another one is going to go with 0 return on that investment. So if you're the NIP, you're winning the utility game so far. 6 drones that you can utilize. You can see you still want to push down bottom white, but Loira, still tucked inside of Christmas Tree, is going to be the biggest problem for that push.
And there's not a lot of shock drone utility to get on the site itself. You know, you think typically you'll have Goyos, for instance, in the Vulcan canisters, but just not there anyway. So not a lot of value needed from Hates on the Twitch. 45 seconds. Now you've got to start thinking about clear out VIP. How do you do that? White stairs with a brown stairs flank as well. Go for the pinch. Laura's got a Nitro Cell, wants to try and time this. Now, you don't want to go for this drop, though, unless you really put pressure on this. They don't drop. Nitro does nothing. Frag grenade. He does have some help towards Bar, though. So Stompin is stopping a brown stairs push as well. Cons will drop Freezer. Can go for this plant over towards the kitchen sink. Flash will come in. Won't deter him, though. With a bit of cover from Hates, Stompin shouldn't be allowed to push up and get these kills. Got one traded, and now a 3v2 in favor of G2 on the defense. And little time for Fantasy and Hates.
15 seconds to go. Alamau gets a triple on the round, and Loira will close the book on that ground floor defense. It was all set up for that round to be won by NIP.
Allow Stompin to cross. That's a basic fundamental error for NIP. They got into good position, deep position. They didn't really get too hurt by the VIP player. They were able to drop Freezer. They weren't affected by Nitros, Gas Babes. You get to the sink, you go for the plant, and it's sticking. At that point, the only thing you need to worry about is denying someone from running up, and Stompin just sprinted, got the kill, went pro and stayed alive, job done.
Funny thing is, too, you look at G2, they used 3 C4s, didn't get a single kill. You didn't prevent the hatch drop. You allowed the attackers into sight to try to get the case down, and you still win the round. So that's really good bounce back ability from G2, because in reality, when you put those first 3 things I said together, you think they're going to lose that round.
But they also flanked at the right time as well. Alamau going back up, second floor, got a couple of kills. So they, in terms of G2, were in sync with their coordination and their ability to then push off as the defenders and go for that kind of counter-attack aggression late round when NIP were executing. So 1-1. Good way to start this quarterfinal. Again, a reminder, winner will move forward into the semifinals. I know we're on the B stream today, so technically they're not on the main stream, the main stage for NIP. They haven't actually visited the main stage yet.
I was going to bring that up earlier, but I thought maybe I won't. But they need to win. If they want to play main stage at any point, they got to win today, or else they're going to go home without having been there at all. Site swap, though. Reading Room Library will be the site of choice. Looking at the way this is set up from the defenders, basically everybody from G2, apart from Doki, is playing off-site. Doki's going to play below with that C4. He's going to help the team above if there's any pressure coming in. Loira can float around white stairs, up and down where needs are required. For NIP, that setup that they have, you know, once you bring the ram, you're screaming that you want to establish some vertical control. But to do that, Cocktail is one of the most important positions that you need to clear, and that's why Alamo was there. That's why Loira's on white stairs to help Alamo out if the pressure gets too hot.
I mean, Kafe is just a fundamental, man. Like, not a lot really changes. It's all about your ability to clear out the key positions, push back defenders, make sure they can't get good flank opportunities. Blaz has been spotted by that drone. Hades will find the kill. Didn't quite get to see that one, though, but playing off the drone rather quickly there for NIP. Nets them the opening pick in this third round. Again, you can clearly tell the game plan for G2. Operators like a Jaeger. ADS is down, move on, be aggressive. They want to play aggressive here on Kafe. So far, mixed results. Fantasy yet to find a kill. It seems like he knows one is stuck over towards Pixel.
You've got to be careful as well. There's always the threat of that swing over from Cocktail's side.
Loira!
Loira's there again. A headshot onto Fantasy playing inside Freezer. Double mirror setup so we can see everything that's going on Piano.
You can start to fall back now as well because there's only a minute left. Now, can they get Stompin out of this Pixel position? They'll still have deployable shield, so he's still rather safe.
And the hatch is open too if he wants to drop down through that hatch if needs are required. But as you can see, Stompin is going to stand his ground, playing Pixel. Cons finds another kill. Loira falls, and that is now a signal for him to fall a little further back. Now, Stompin really good at selecting gunfights, and that's why he gets the kill on the Cons with 45 seconds to go. G2 have pulled this round back again.
It's the aggression coming out from G2 that's overwhelming NIP on the defense of Kafe. They're not just falling back. They're not trying to play that peel-off defense. They're trying to play in the faces of the attackers. So far, so good.
There's something I want to say about Stompin, and I know that some people are going to say this is a stretch, right? But when I watch this kid play, he is so good at selecting what gunfights to take and his angles. Like, most fights that he take are 60-40 in his favor. And, he learned that, I think, through console. He's gotten himself in these good positions. Early days decision-making reminds me, and this might be controversial, but it reminds me of Pengu just a little bit. Now, he's got a long way to go to be in that conversation. But the way he moves around the map and the way he selects fights impresses me so much for what is essentially a rookie.
Mirror Band along with the IQ. I'll tell you who's doing a really good job though so far is Alamau, just playing off of the pressure elsewhere. He's then able to slip in and kind of go a little bit unguarded by NIP. They're more focused on players like Loira and Stompin. Alamau's got himself up to 5 kills, but he's never too often really been the direct threat. He's just kind of slipping through the cracks in the backline and finding these picks because NIP are so focused on the aggressors from G2. And that's only allowable because of the way that G2 are actually playing on the defense. They're not looking to fall back. You know, traditionally, stomping at Pixel with a minute left on the round, you probably start to give that up and start to fall back and allow them to take that position. But G2 just basically fought to the death, but they won it out.
I think the big thing for Stompin was maybe he didn't feel safe backing off with the distance it takes to get the white, so he figured, I'm going to take the fight. Alma probably helped him make that decision. You know, Alma was holding his ground inside of Cocktail at that point. But so far, so good
Oh,
for G2.
Doki.
Yeah, Doki's going to get his opener of the game, and it's a spawn peak. Nice of Doki to say he's got somebody in his pocket when it's Doki's first kill of the game.
Easy spawn peak for Doki. Gets G2 off to a great start in this 4th round. We are playing mining this round as well. No Dokkaebi either for NIP now, so no logic bombs. And essentially, when you kind of look at the lineup that they did bring, the Dokkaebi is really helpful for someone like Fantasy on the Nook when they want to kind of clear out these lurkers, these roamers. And Loira wanted to take the battle with Fantasy, but loses out to the Nook. Got some damage in, but shot in the back by Blaz, making his way down brown stairs. Advantage still maintained for G2.
Yeah, now Blaz will get a little bit closer to sight. Cons with the diffuser. He's going to drone to work out where that next hole that maybe NIP can grab themselves a little bit of space. Loira will throw a little bit more shade inside of chat towards the opposition, but for NIP, you've still got more than half the round to work with. You've got drones, you can still isolate, because one thing about G2 is true. They will always give you at least one versus one if you really look for it. And at this moment in time, like Doki, he's in that position. Almao still playing by Cocktail on the top floor. If they pick whichever one of those fights they favor most, you will get a chance to win one.
There's not a lot on the table right now for NIP to navigate this round. I mean, you've essentially got the flank watch, flank denials in Nomad in the gridlock. And then the soft breach as well. Nitro from Vlaz will connect. This round falling apart, and this half falling apart as well for NIP. G2 flexing their muscles on Kafe in this quarterfinal. They are the ones that are bringing the firepower despite being on the defense. And NIP, ever since that opening round, have looked stalled out.
Yeah, I hate to say it so early, but losing that ground floor attack was like a momentum killer, even though it was just the second round. Everything looked so good, and they've not bounced back from then. At this point, they're going to call a timeout. Again, something you see a lot with Brazilian coaches. They get really close to the players, crouch down, talk about it. But then on the other side of things, look how relaxed G2 are looking right now. There's no real stress. Blaz is talking with the team, talking maybe some things that he's seen. It's very much an open forum over on G2 where every player is giving talking about what they're seeing and what their thoughts are.
Well, an even spread as well for G2 is helping them. Alamau 5 kills, Laura's got 4, Stompin 4, Blaz has got 3 and was impactful in that previous round. Doki's role on the team, he doesn't really need to be a fragger anyway. Early days though, but this is NIP's map pick.
Yeah, bad signs, but again, you're on attack on Kafe, so it can change very quickly. But G2, back down to kitchen. They're not going to re-chance the top floor, having lost it in the opening round of this game.
Well, you say that, but G2 got 4 attacking rounds against FaZe on this map yesterday, so it's not as if they're going to be incapable when they do switch sides. NIP really do need to win these next 2 rounds.
It's important for them, but as I look at this lineup that G2 are bringing, it's going to be kind of playing from the outside of sight in once more. No surprises with that being the case. You spoke earlier about, in the last time we came to the site, there were no Goyo cannons to be there, and G2 have changed that up. Loira will bring the Goyo.
And they've got the Valkyrie with no IQ on the board.
Yep. 1 C4, which will be, of course, in Valk's pocket, but I think I like the way that G2 have set this up.
Yeah, G2's got a very good lineup in this 5th round. Valkyrie without the contest of the IQ means that those Valcams traditionally can be up a little bit longer than usual. Judging by this lineup for NIP as well, again, it's going to be kind of playing out the same way as before. Second floor, open floorboards, probably looking towards that freezer side. The Deimos to maybe put some pressure onto the VIP player. Just need to see NIP try and bring a little bit more aggression, though, in these rounds. They're almost too focused on the setup. And in modern Siege, a lot of the times defenders like to interrupt that setup now, so they don't just sit back. You know, you think back to the old 20-second meta days when defenders would just essentially sit and wait. Well, that's not the case in Modern Siege. Defenders will look to interrupt that attacking setup.
That kind of ties back to the point I made in the pre-show. Like NIP, they kept playing that. Even though the game moved on, that was their problem. That's why we didn't see a lot of success for them. And it looks like they're falling back into old habits here as Lair.
You lost the Twitch now. That's absolutely massive, because those Vulcan canisters are going to be far more difficult to get rid of.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. If I'm an NIP fan, it's going to make things a lot harder inside this round. Now, Deimos will look to find that pick. We know that Loira is in that position, but it doesn't matter because Stompin is there. Fantasy will eventually trade that back, but you look at who they've lost. They've lost the Capitan now. That's Smokes, that's Flames. It makes things even harder when it comes to that execute. The case is cold at this point in time as well, and not to mention G2 still have Valcams. They've got tons of information that they can gather on where NIP are playing.
They've got gas babes as well. And the operators that are left for NIP, very much these setup stylistic operators. The Buck wanting to open up the soft breach. It's really the Deimos now for Fantasy that needs to continue to do a little bit more in this round. Find the kills, bring the numbers back for NIP. But down a player, 60 seconds left. Still droning, still working for more information. And still having not really cleared out the site itself in terms of utility. This is going to be oh so difficult for Ninjas in Pyjamas. G2 heading towards a 4-1 lead in this quarterfinal off the back of a timeout from NIP. Really, it comes down to a desperate Hail Mary with 40 seconds left. They're just going to need to hit some really, really fortunate shots. It's the only way that NIP will win this round.
NIP still with presence on the floor above with 29 seconds to go. A repositioning here as we see Fantasy will move down by reception, but he's gotten the Rooney gate in front of him if he looks to step in. Player tucked in the corner, but Alamau will swing out from that Christmas side, and Fantasy now will fall. You'll see a lot of pressure. Wizard pushing down downstairs, finds his one, but a quick 1-2, and G2 win round 5. They're 4-1 to the good on Kafe defense.
You could sit back and say, what was that from NIP? I mean, quite literally, but why it starts that way is because of G2's pressure. That is exactly the reason why NIP struggled so much in that round, because of what G2 did at the start of the round, finding those early picks, again, putting pressure around the map and saying to NIP, we are not going to allow you to take space and position so you can then play your setup game to open up and weaken the site so then you can then execute. NIP never even got in that round any kind of opportunity to play their setup execute style. So G2 is taking away what NIP want to do.
But it's the pick they got too. You lose the Twitch. That suddenly makes that position in Christmas so much stronger because you can't get rid of those Goyo canisters until the end. Lawyer's going to pop those himself when there's a minute left on the clock. It just stops absolutely everything. They were fishing then. NIP were fishing for a long time trying to find a kill, and nobody from G2 gave themselves up until they knew they could win the fight. So at this point, G2 looking really strong. NIP enter their final attacking round on their map pick. They need this round, or else you could call curtains on Kafe rather early on this. Back up to the top floor. The one site that NIP did manage to find success on a little bit earlier. G2 were very reliant on the mirror setup that time. Mirror now has been banned. But just look at their positions, right? Loira on dock is playing by piano. You can play aggressive there, because if you get down, you get straight back up on your feet. He does damage onto Wizards.
They've gone hates Ash to try and bring some counter aggression. I think it's just like we need a gun inside the map to go shooting and hunting for G2, knowing full well they're playing these aggressive positions. So they've changed their lineup a little bit. So rather than overstacking for the setup style operators, they go hates on the Ash. He's been the best player so far at the tournament. Go in, find some picks, open up the space then by removing a couple of defenders, give us a man advantage. We can then funnel in, get ourselves into a good position. So NIP breaking out that Hail Mary game plan for this final round of the half.
After Loira nearly got that early spawn peak and didn't find it, he fell back then they reinforced bathroom late on the round, so they played aggressive, didn't get a reward. They've fallen back now and they've changed up all their positions. Stompin will play by Pixels. So at this point, Fantasy, he's on the other side. They're changing
no, Fantasy.
That's an NA need here.
Oh, it's all going horribly wrong for NIP.
Yeah, Alamau gets that kill. Down goes Wizard. Down goes the Gridlock. That's your flank watch, essentially. It's been removed at this point. Yes, Pino will pull one back, but it's a 4v4 with a minute and a half to go, and G2 still holding all the power positions. Alamau inside a cocktail. Blaz directly below that main, the sky, like, Doki gets a C4.
Doki.
Yeah, this is looking really bad for NIP.
It's looking horrible for NIP. They're just getting shredded. G2 have just got every single answer. I mean, Piano's still in the exterior. Cons top red. That's it in terms of map control. Still need to deal with that BPC. Final frag grenade from Cons will do that. Still has 2 ROUs available. 2v3. Must find this round win. I mean, this is a quarter-final. This is a playoff match. This is not the time to just whimper out of these maps on your map pick at this point in the tournament. And Doki suddenly found 3. Pino will probably sense his opportunity to win this round is slim to none. G2 are picking up the pressure here on Kafe and making a charge towards these finals at the EWC. 5-1.
There's nothing Pino can do. You've literally got Alamau holding over by Cocktail. He can swing up to heaven. You've got still the cover being held from Freezer. There's still pressure from the shield. There's no way Pino can win that round. And on a map like Kafe, if you don't clear Pixel, if you don't clear Cocktail, you're never going to find any real success in the round. And NIP, well, they limped their way through that attacking half. Swings will switch over. They will now be on the defense. But for G2, they're just 2 rounds away from winning their opponent's map pick and then going to a map that we know they're incredibly comfortable on in Bank.
It is a long, long way back now for NIP. They do go defense themselves. That's a saving grace. But as I mentioned before, G2's performance on Attack Kafe against FaZe Clan yesterday was outstanding. Bring more of that and they will have no troubles pushing aside NIP here on their map pick. And it goes back to what we were talking about on the pre-match desk. Gibson, I mentioned for NIP, they played 1 day, 2 best-of-1s against lesser opponents, win them both. Then it's a day off, and now you're going up against the G2 team in form off the back of an amazing win yesterday. And it's showing inside of the server.
I think for NIP, like, even if you lose this map, build some momentum, win a couple of rounds, get yourself going before you go to that second map. Because if you go out of this at a 7-2 or even a 7-3, you're thinking, how do we play ourselves back in? We lost our map. We're going to Bank. So for NIP, how can you win these rounds starting? Well, look at what G2 did. Control sections of the map. You can see they've got the pixel shield in place. Hits will reinforce Bathroom with the head holes. So you've got basically the opportunity for playing pixel. You drop back into Bathroom. Pino locking himself inside of Cocktail. So essentially, they're doing similar things because, as you said, it's a fundamental map. There's not too many ways you can dress up Kafe that nobody will have ever seen before.
Claymore deployed.
A bomb has been located.
G2 go on the attack now. Curious to see how aggressive NIP themselves will be. Well, double frag grenade made it through this window from Alamau. And Doki finds the opening pick onto Pino. The Frost dealt with.
That's Cocktail control, if they want it. Look, Fantasy is playing by planks right now, but you've got no defenders inside of Cocktail. Blast is on one window, Alamau on the other. Looks like they're going to swap the diffuser over at this point in time. Alamau is going to pick that one up with the sledge. But at this point, look, Hates is still playing over by Pixel. There is zero pressure apart from Stomp, and he might push up red on that side of the map. Cons looks like he's still playing from below, but at this point in time, NIP don't look ready for what G2 are bringing.
4 drones remaining for G2. Iron Scan will go out from Blaz. A run out from Cons. Inside now, going up white stairs and stomping to find the next one. Alamau follows seat, and G2 are also putting the plant down inside a Cocktail, and they're putting the hammer down as well onto NIP. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, they just go bang. And Ninjas in Pyjamas were not ready for what G2 were bringing that round.
Even little things they did there, right? I was watching the overhead feed, which was not what was on screen, but what did Alamau do? He went to the window, he smoked off the new hatch drop. That meant nobody could swing from that section of the map. They knew the Cocktail was clear. The only 1v1 he really had to worry about was if there was somebody inside Bathroom or Freezer. He wins that kill. He goes in for the plant. NIP panic and try to swing the retake, and everybody from G2's waiting.
the biggest thing in that round in terms of a difference maker compared to what we saw from NIP, they get the opening pick, then they settle. They then work around what they want to do as a team, communicate, coordinate, and then execute. And that execution at the end of that round was the best attacking round we've seen all game of Kafe. And it's from G2 in their one and only attacking round. That's a statement. 6-1 up now on the map pick of NIP, and this one is looking disastrous for the Brazilians.
G2 are playing really well too, though. Like, you got to give them credit. Like, yes, NIP have made a couple of mistakes, but G2 are playing this map so clean.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Absolutely. But NIP look like a team that's had a day off and they're coming in cold. And that's what I was fearful of on the desk when I said they've had a day off. Doesn't always bode well, as much as it is a reward for qualifying day one. Well, these could be the side effects. They look like a team that's not prepped and ready to go, whereas for G2, off the back of their game yesterday, they look ready to go. They look like they're warmed up, not missing a beat. A long way back now for NIP. Yes, it's a best of 3. Yes, you could try and regroup, reform on Bank, but you got to take some form into Bank. You don't want to be losing this 7-1, 7-2. At least if you can string 3-4 rounds together, and yes, if you still then ultimately lose, the form is regained, mustered up and ready to go for that second map.
G2, with the lineup that they are bringing this time around, will scream that they want to take some control from above at least. They'll bring Blast. He'll be able to put those track stringers down on brown stairs and make sure that nobody from NIP can get an easy flank on the side. Remember, we speaking about the site, it was a flank by Alamau a little bit earlier on whenever G2 were on the defense that shut down an NIP attack on this site. So they've brought their flank watch, they've given themselves the ability to create vert on the site, and I'm always a fan of a Capitan pick.
Oh,
and
how
Loira,
is this happening again?
just as I bring him up, just as I talk about Capitan, Loira will get that kill on the Fantasy. I know that's the Warden gone.
That's the Warden. Fantasy was really good on day one as well. 3 and 8 in this match. That's a big piece for NIP. That's not firing. Again, another opening kill for G2. They've dominated that facet of this match. Constantly having advantages that they're then capitalizing upon, and NIP are always on the back foot. Been the harsh reality for this roster. NIP have just not looked like a team that's actually arrived at the arena today. And now for G2, you've got full second floor control. There's no response at all from NIP. There's still a minute 20 on the clock as well. This is wonderful time management for G2. They're just constantly setting the tone and the pace early in these rounds, and NIP are dictated by what G2 are doing.
They're going to use a frag grenade now to make it so that you can get that hatch open, but I think that nade didn't quite land where it needed to. Now, Cons is still playing in Christmas Tree, so with that being the case, you've still got to deal with a player in that position. That's where Capitao can come in so good. Smoke off the drop. Enable yourself to get in and go for that plant. 5 versus 4, 45 seconds to go.
I want to see them start moving now, though, G2. Give yourself a bit of breathing room. Yeah, there's 40 seconds left. Don't let that clock tick down to 15, 20 seconds and then go for the plant. Yes, you got the player advantage, and certainly you can win those battles in terms of rushing towards the site. Plenty of drones left. Should have a lot of information here. 30 seconds. Still struggling with this hatch over towards Fireplace. But the time is starting to get a little bit concerning here. G2 have just kind of stalled themselves out. Doki for the close swing on the window, and Wizard will win that. Lefenria holds that position towards Small Bake. Regains that to a 4v4 stalemate in terms of players alive. Heading into red time. And now the time itself is starting to really lower for G2. They switched it up, went for the bakery hit. NIP weren't ready for it. Stomping through prep, was able to find that kill onto Pino. Went for the plant, hurt the running Cons, gets off the plant, but NIP will shut Stomping down and stay alive here on Kafe.
Yeah, he won the first one, but there was nobody covering the push through, and NIP went around. G2 almost brute forced it with 15 seconds on the clock, but NIP pull one round back, but it's still 6-2. Now you're going to go back to Bar and Cocktail, where G2 won that map or that site as cleanly as I've seen it be won in recent history. What are NIP going to change? Because being real, I don't think G2 are going to go for the exact same attack twice. You know, you went for Cocktail the first time. They're probably going to change things up a little.
So we head over to Mining for this next round. G2 will be disappointed with the way that they kind of closed out that previous one, considering they had the opening pick for such a large amount of time and started their prep with about a minute and 30 on the clock. And then ultimately, they couldn't get open that hatch and decided to go against that freezer push and went for a very late rotate towards Bakery. And while they almost pulled it off, they did leave themselves really no room for error, and that cost them in the end. Still a lot more work to be done, though, for NIP. Long way back here on Kafe. 4 more rounds consecutively required. Will take a mighty effort for this team. But as I said before, even if they don't bring this all the way back and don't win it outright, find a couple of rounds, okay, feel a little bit more confident inside of the server, and then head over to Bank. That's got to be the mentality.
Yeah, we might see something similar with the double nades as Sledge is in play. They brought 4 on the round. Last time you got pretty successful. You threw a couple of nades. It forces the player out into the line of sight, and you find the opening kill. Now, Alama will get in that exact same position on the window that we saw him play a little before, looking over towards New Hatch. Nobody else over on the side of the map just yet. Blaz will watch for any jump outs at this point in time, but they're just fishing. Doki will get rid of some cams. The Twitch, you can see the Twitch being utilized to just make things a little bit harder to spot. I know, I love this. If you push up Brown and you get rid of the barbed wire, if somebody is playing directly below Skylight, this is as easy a kill as you're going to get. But look, inside a library and 2 ships passing inside the night. He still knows exactly where he's got no clue the flank is coming in. Eventually the fire will come off.
Oh no, Loira
wins those.
Well, Loira just whiffed on the shots and was hoping that he would get a teammate to push in. Drop shot and the knife to finish from Pino. And G2 will fluff this round, and what was hoping to be an aggressive push early on to catch out NIP. Loira's push originally was really solid to get deep, but he just didn't really get a lot of help. And then the first shot's whiff as he got behind default bookcase, swung back out, good kill, and a good hold as well from Cons. Cons had to do a really, really solid job there because he was getting pressured from 2 different angles. That will most likely be the round. And it's a solid round for NIP because it meets G2 at their best and most aggressive head-on and come out on top. The previous round, you could argue G2 maybe fluffed their prep a little bit and then had to late rotate, and then the clock beat them. This round, NIP have beaten them.
This round is still ongoing, though. There's still information being garnered by the side of G2. Stompin trying to create some vertical control, getting red pings in and around sight, hoping to get a kill, get it back to a 4v2.
Probably, with Stompin still alive, anything can happen, right? So by no means is the round over, but it's going to be really difficult. 40 seconds now as well, doesn't leave you a lot of time. Stompin towards red. Hates is, by the way, sitting at the bottom of this. Hans does get knocked down. That's by Blaz elsewhere towards Cocktail. 30 seconds. If they can both find a kill each quickly, and that brings it back to a 2 versus 2. Really, for NIP now, you've got to fall back, play the site, deny the plant positions. Blaz actually now into sight. Sorry, not sight, it's mining.
It's still not too far away, though. Gets rid of that camera. You've still got 2 defenders in by reading room, but Stompin finds one. Maybe there's a chance. Pino reduces the odds and Hates closes out the round. NIP.
Well, they had to run at the end because they were just so low on time. And so, they caught Blaz running and sprinting down that hallway when they still hadn't cleared out Fireplace.
That's twice in a row, though. You could say the same thing happened in the previous round.
Yeah. Yeah, that round falls back to NIP at the start, though, and their ability to actually counter that early aggression from G2. 2 rounds in a row. Brings it back to 6-3. You're on defense, Kafe. It starts to look a little bit more doable now for NIP, but so much more still to be done because they left themselves with no room for error.
And you spoke about it. G2 played Brazilian opposition on this map already.
Yep.
And dominated the attack. So they only need 1 more round. I can't see G2 giving up multiple rounds. Now, I always say that. You always have a look at G2. As long as Carl looks like he's emotionally fine, G2 have got a chance. I think he's one of those players that if you want to know how G2 are playing, look at him.
But it goes back to what I was saying. For NIP, this is finally where it feels like if we had to, say, taken the first 5 rounds out of this game, we had to started this match 20, 30 minutes a little bit later. Now it feels really even. Now it feels like NIP is starting to get what they want to do going inside of the server. Hates is starting to frag out. Cons is having a decent game in terms of his clutch ability. Like, Cons is not going to be the guy that's going to go and drop 15 kills, but you can trust him in the 1vx's. You can trust him in those pinch positions like we saw in Reading as well. Can they get more out of Fantasy, though? That's my concern. He's only 3-8. He's so far been the second best player at the tournament for NIP, behind Hates. Even Pino, 3 and 8, was really, really good in that second map that we saw from them back on Playday 1 against OXG.
Too many players on NIP heavily on the negative when it comes to the kill feed so far in this game. You know, as you said, Pino 3 and 8, Cons 5 and 8, but you turn your attention over towards G2. Loira, Alamau, and Stompin.
Well, they're all positive, Ori.
27 kills between the three of them.
Yeah. I do wonder for G2, though, will they once again look for another early aggressive start? Probably not, considering this top floor.
You look at the setup from NIP as well. Cons playing inside of Humidor. Hatch is open. He can drop from that position if needs be. He's there to make sure that if anyone drops red hatch, you can toss that C4. You can use the shotgun and cause a lot of problems. Now, that is enabled by the castle barricade that splits it off from Piano. So he can play Humidor as long as that castle remains in place. Hits' job is to keep Piano safe at this point in time. And then you got Pino over by Cocktail just to keep an eye on what everything's going on. So they're set up to meet G2 at all of the points of entry to the top floor, which I think is so important on a map like this. But Pino, he is going to fall like a nade was thrown. You're seeing another double nade dump, and they're taking control of this section of the map with ease. Now, there's probably going to be an attempted swing from Wizard from planks. All Blaz has got to do is keep his reticle right on where Wizard's going to step in, but he allows Wizard to cross.
Oh, no. No nitro cells remaining as well for NIP.
Alamo vaulted in, came in.
Good shot, Doki with the push off the back of the wounded NIP members. They wanted to put the nail in the coffin, and Alamau Doki combined 2 apiece for the veterans. And now on a 4 versus 1, G2 certainly now set up to take the opening map of this quarterfinal. Cons in a 1v4. So unlikely and shut down by Stompin. A slight resurgence from NIP, but left themselves with no room for error as they lose out on their map pick of Kafe to G2, who go 1-0 up in this quarterfinal.
What I loved about that, you've got a player on the window of Cocktail, player downed, they cross, you're like, oh no, he's let him cross. He hears the fact that the res is occurring, and he shouts to Alamau. He rotates, repels right in the other window by Heaven, swings around the corner, stops that res from occurring. Doki comes with the pressure then as well. It was really clean from G2. And then while all that was going on as well, Stompin heard the guns fired, so that was the signal for them to repel and go for the plant as well. G2, clinical, dropped a couple of rounds in that game, but they're going to be feeling really good going to Bank.
They had the best form throughout that map. They showed the most aggression, the best strategy, the best counter strategy as well, especially on their defense in that first half, which set themselves up beautifully. Some of the better siege that we've seen at this event at a lot of points in that map, don't get me wrong, probably towards the end, it felt like they came back down to earth because they were playing at a superhuman level for so long in that game, and NIP certainly could just not match them. That's the concern for me now moving forward into Bank on the next map is how do NIP stop G2 when G2 are playing at their very best? I don't know if they can match them at that level. Their hope will be that G2 maybe fumble a little bit or are not at their best on Bank. That's maybe the only way in which that NIP will be able to challenge them on that next map. Short break, Bank on the other side.
Level up your gaming experience with over 8 billion playlists, only on Spotify, the official audio streaming partner for the 2025 Esports World Cup.
This land is calling.
Well, the quarterfinals have kicked off with a bang as G2 obliterate NIP on Kafe, which was NIP's map pick as well, Gibson. So not a good start for the Brazilians, the majority of the Brazilians, I should say. I guess there's a couple on G2 as well. G2 will be very happy now going into their map pick of Bank and looking to close this out in a 2-0 fashion.
Yeah, it was a map that's going to test your fundamentals, and the fundamentals from G2 were on point. Their decision-making, the way that they approached the map, they didn't play a reactionary style of Siege, they were proactive. They wanted it to play a certain way, they made NIP do it, and I think NIP fell into some old bad habits that they had in the previous few years. So that map's done and dusted. We're going to Bank next. You know, it's actually very different. Like, we spoke about a map that was really condensed, highly vertical play. Now we're going to one of the maps with the biggest footprints that we have inside the game. Lots of open spaces. This is a map that's going to suit the Gunners on G2 particularly.
Need to see a bit more out of NIP. Now,
Yep.
we've already gotten the best of G2. As I said before we went to the break, I don't know if NIP can match G2's best, but they may not necessarily always play at their best, and you almost need to kind of put them off of that by bringing your own firepower and trying to offset the balance, because G2 basically did whatever they wanted on Kafe. Like, they basically got the setups that they wanted, they got the entries that they wanted, they got the map control that they wanted. NIP looked a little bit invisible at times, especially on their attacks, and certainly even still on their defenses. So they got a lot that they've got to lock in very quickly, and I think it's all about starting well. I know that's easy to say, but like, you know, you don't want to be 3-4-0 down on Bank here and staring down the barrel of defeat. You need to start well, build that confidence, and maybe just offset G2 a little bit.
And I wouldn't mind, they started well on Kafe. They won the first round. They were in the execute situation on the second, but if you give G2 momentum here on Bank, your Esports World Cup journey will end, and all you will have played is 2 best-of-1s and 1 best-of-3. You will have not been on the main stage, which is where G2 are looking to return. A win here, and they're going into the semi-finals essentially with a brilliant situation.
For both the South America League and EML, Bank is the most attacker-sided map as well. So that's something to consider as we head into it. That's where a lot of the rounds need to be won. It's where you need to be the most competitive. In fact, in the South America League, it's the only map that is actually attacker-sided. Everything else is defender-sided. In EML, Clubhouse is actually 50-50, but also then holds true. Bank really the only attacker-sided map that we've got in both of the regions that these two teams do play in. And guess who's attacking first? It is G2. It's their map pick. They get to attack first up. It's going to put the pressure onto NIP. So for NIP, the test is early. You get the defensive rounds. You build yourself up a little lead here on defense. That's going to give you so much confidence that you can take this map, stay alive here at the Esports World Cup.
During the course of the regular season, G2 did play on Bank 3 times. They won it twice, took 1 defeat, but still an overall positive record for them as we go here. The ban phase is over and done with. Ace, obviously one of the team's favourite hard breach bans to get rid of. Monty's been removed from play as well. You think about G2, back when Brazil was experimenting with Monty and creating Monty into the monster that it is today, G2 were like, in Europe, the only team that were doing the exact same thing, so it's no surprise to see NIP remove Monty from play as well, particularly on Bank.
And the last bit of hope as well for NIP is they've had some decent success back home in the South America League when it comes to Lair. We saw obviously G2 lose on Lair the other day to Shopify Rebellion, so naturally, if NIP can get this win, they'll probably feel confident then going into the decider map if they can get there, but that's a big if. G2 have been looking very good.
Look at the amount of plant denial that's been brought by NIP in this round. You brought Tachanka and Goyo. Now, you can interchange between Smoke and Tachanka, but Smoke's obviously being banned, so you're forced into it. So, one of the biggest mistakes that we see from the player that's playing Tachanka is not lining up those flames perfectly. You have to hit the exact point on the ceiling if you want to prevent that default plant inside of A when teams push through server.
The one good thing about the Tachanka pick, though, obviously as I mentioned, Smoke banned out, no choice, is that it's actually pretty good at being multifaceted on this basement site in terms of a vault drop potential. So you can get the Shamika launcher, fire going into a vault, even the elevator lobby, for instance. So it's more versatile than just the Smoke stall out. But it's a rather default looking setup from NIP. Early aggression, early kill. Lair is already pushing through beepers and has the red ping on the close hatch position, and that's a free kill onto Hates. Why is he running that way towards red? Early mistakes and errors for NIP. You lose that Tachanka that we were speaking about, so you lose a lot of delay. And there's still 2 minutes on the clock. No Fenrir. A double kill entry for Loira, highlighting how good he has been playing at EWC.
But look who they've lost. They've lost the Tachanka. Like, they just walked in through ATMs all the way around through to concrete and got that kill. And then the player on the hatch inside of open area dropped too late. Turn your back to the hatch, and G2 heard the noise, pushed in, got the kill. So they've got themselves a 5 versus 3 as things stand. And now they can take all the time in the world. Open up the hatch into server. You've already got one of the hatches in open area that's been opened up to Wizard. Now, to be fair, they can burn 1 minute of time because there is 3 Goyo canisters on that door. So
Pino's stuck now as well.
Yeah.
Has to commit. Towards top blue. Has a Nitro, playing the Warden, expecting the push from behind. How about stomping with the Bailey from that distance at the bottom of blue stairs? Finds a headshot onto Pino, pulls out the bigger, stronger gun, hits the headshot onto Wizard. Close to flawless right now for G2, but shut down by Fantasy. Doesn't matter, because Stompin is the one who is doing the shutting down against NIP. Dominant start on the second map of this quarterfinal.
sat beside Doki, the player that was entrusted with just bringing him into the way of life inside of EML, because it's Scotland that he moved to. And they're sat beside each other. Doki gives him a high five. And I'm going to say this. If any players benefited from the addition of Stompin', it's Doki. So much pressure has come off his shoulders. You remember back to last year? It felt like it was Alamau and Doki that had to do all the heavy lifting for the side. Now they're a four-headed demon, and Blaz, we've not seen the best of Blaz inside of G2 just yet, but when he is on it, he is capable of huge games as well. They really are, I suppose, a five-headed monster.
It's the fact that for NIP, they got absolutely rinsed in the way that they did, playing a stall-out setup defense on basement bank. Now, don't get me wrong, again, attacker-sided map, but that side in particular, when played properly, is the site you want to be winning as a defender. And naturally, for G2 to just literally walk through the front door of your Loira and find the opening 2 kills, lose your Tachanka early, you never even got to get into the stall-out process. That is a dismal start for NIP. May as well have been a flawless, if not for the 1 kill from Fantasy. We didn't see any stall-out, no nitros. NIP never really got themselves set up for what they wanted to do, and that's the concern, because that is how G2 were winning on Kafe. They start bank the way that they finished off the opening map.
So now we'll get into the drone phase for G2. And
how is this still happening? You're playing a two-barrel fantasy.
And look at the lineup. 3 players on Repel as things stand on that main side of the map.
They don't value their life enough on these operators. NIP are just losing players too early in rounds. It's the second map in a row that this is happening. They are getting absolutely taught a lesson here by G2.
Now, having lost that kill, the onus really does go on the NIP to make something happen on defense. Wizard on Clash. He's got his back towards Stock as he moves in towards Square. He'll spot where Doki is in Repel. But while all this is going on, Blaz is in ATMs. He's going to drone up, realize that Pino is an elevator. Pino's essentially in a sole spot there. If you look at the positioning of the other players, nobody can help him out. We're sitting on board with Cons here as well. He does have a little bit of support in this section map, but the Flames will make sure that he can't move. This really holding back. That's pushing. Look, Doki is going to walk up towards Janitor and seize the Clash.
No real help for Wizard. Cons just tucked in towards Janitor. No pressure to worry about over towards Stock, so Doki can just bolt on in and try and maybe go for a pinch on towards the Clash. Oh, that was a free kill. He didn't even realize it.
Phone will ring. You've got yourself that dance. Wizard's going to swing. Wizard's going to win.
Wizard should have died earlier than that. Doki didn't even realize. He actually saw him when he opened that whole position. Big kill from Cons onto Alamel. Finally, some fight back from NIP. And Hates will shut down Blaz and leaves Stompin, who's low on health, in a 1v3 with a Clash on the board. This is incredibly difficult, no matter who you are. These are the positions that should be virtually unwinnable, even for someone like Stompin. You've got the Echo, you've got the Valk, you've got the Clash, most importantly. This is not just a case of a normalized 1v3. The pieces on the board for NIP here. Liquid gold for what you want in this situation. Stompin will go for it. He has to go for it. But so low on health. And honestly, even if he was full health, it still wouldn't change too much. Spotted over towards Janitor. Wizard's got an easy position to hold still with that shield. A couple of taps with that SMG. Stompin will fall rather quickly. Gone 6 to try and deal with the shield. Misses. But they give him a 1v1. Pino does not need to swing there. You want Stompin to push in. He doesn't have kit. Doesn't matter. Hates on the other end of the corridor. Yep. Does finally get the kill. But it's a good example there. Pino doesn't need to do that.
They had full information on Stompin there as well, because remember, they had the Valk and they had the Echo as well. He was in an unwinnable position. He got another couple of kills to stat pad, but that round hinged on Doki. Remember when he was back in stock? He opened up the left side. We saw the player on the other side of the wall. If Doki sees Clash, wins that gunfight, all of a sudden you've got full access towards Janitor. Clash can't hold anybody back anymore. But that fight goes the other way, and all of a sudden, G2 find themselves struggling because Doki was so vital for that execute. But NIP, they win a round. It started off wrong, but they pulled it back, but it's much better from them, and they're going to do that tons of times today if they want to win this game.
So we go back to basement. They drop the Chachenka for the Legion. Maybe anticipation of that aggression that we've been seeing from G2 and their ability to kind of just waltz around the map. So the Goo Mines can kind of just stall out G2 a little bit longer. They've got more than enough in terms of on-site defense with the Echo, with the Vulcan canisters. I say more than enough. You would want a little bit more, and you've only got the one Nitro Cell. So in terms of basement, Bank stall out. It's not the full equipped arsenal. Again, the smoke banned out doesn't really help the matter.
3 NIP defenders currently playing on the ground floor. Fantasy is reinforcing up over by Staff as he will have some help. Cons has got that hatch drop that he needs, or that he can use a little bit later. And Hates has created a rotate that he can go through. So for G2, well, while all that's going on, it looks like they're going to drone out Garage. Now, we can see that there is a player playing there, so you'll pop the first few Goyo canisters. 2 of them in Garage, by the way. Usually you'll see 3, maybe most of them, in that default plant spot, but it looks like NIP just don't want anybody pushing through Garage in the early stages of the round.
I love the blitz pick here. Certainly has the ability to, function in many different ways on this particular site. Nitro Cell pre-play set up by Pino.
This is all happening here, but I just want to point out that elsewhere on the map, Blaz is in ATMs with the case completely isolated from the rest of his team, and Hates is still in a position where Blaz can get into that fight. So while all this is going on, they're still working on clearing the open area section of the map, and that's why you're seeing Glaz now smoke it off, hoping somebody will peek.
Toki's going to go aggressive here towards blue. Well, that might be the first hint of over-aggression coming out of G2. Glaz does find the kill onto Hades, evens things back up. Into Lockers, by the way, with the kit, but he does get taken down. Feels like G2 look a little bit disjointed on this attack, many wanting to do different things. Alamau still on the exterior of the Blitz. You want that Blitz with the shield to be your entry, to be your leader to follow behind. Stomping inside a vault, though. They're just all over the place.
Yeah, they don't have the kit. You can see Alamau's dropped through that main hatch now as things stand. Stompin is there to provide him with some support, but the silhouettes of the defenders look like they know exactly where this G2 push is coming from. It's not a Lloyd thing. Like, Cons will find another kill, making it really hard for Lloyd, but with 45 seconds to go, NIP look destined to take another round.
Fantasy with a big battle one over Alamau. Cons finishes the round, and it is now NIP starting to find some form here on Bank. G2, for the first time in this series, in this quarterfinal, looked a little bit disjointed.
Well, you look at the timings, right? They were giving away 1 versus 1s. Like, you see Alamau push down dirt, the defenders will pop the new fire, you know, the new gas valve that's on that entrance. So he's like, okay, I gotta fall back. But while that was going on, Doki decided he was going to swing the player on blue stairs. Now, if Doki wins that fight, we're like, oh, great play by Doki, it opens everything up. But really, you want some more presence down by server before you take on that fight, or at least some utility to help you win it. So NIP, so far, so good on this Bank defense, the map that, as you said, very attacker favorite in Brazil.
Yep, and well, in EML as well. So across the world, 2 defensive rounds for NIP on G2's map pick has set them up nicely. And it's that inner confidence that they can now gain, the belief that they can now gain. Not going to lie, after the first round, Gibson, I was just thinking, oh boy, here we go. It's going to be a full NIP crash out here in the quarterfinal after, you know, a really good day one. Just starting to get the sense, though, there might be some belief still here for the Brazilians, and they've got to be able to play off of those 2 rounds now. Use it as a foundation to build off of. 2 defensive rounds might actually be enough in a matchup like this with how attacker-sided it could potentially be, but I think you want a little bit more. 3 minimum.
Yep.
It's probably what you want in a matchup like this. But you've got 3 rounds to find 1 anyway, so they're in a really good position.
Yeah, you're bang on with a point there, and you're thinking, like, NIP, are they going to keep bringing the same sort of lineups? Well, they're changing things up a little. Mozzie's going to come into play this time around on that open area defense. You think about how... I will say this. I do think that NIP have done a good job of dealing with G2 drones over the course of the game. It's just G2 have been able to brute force a lot of rounds, so another way to slow them down with the mute combination, so Mozzie mute. We're seeing a lot of striker as well, of course, the last few days, right? Sorry, sentry on defense. We're seeing a lot of sentry, which is not what I was used to seeing when I watched EML and SAL this year. It's
a niche pick. You see it every now and then. Same with striker. Definitely have their uses.
3 C4s, though. And this is a site that you know the G2 historically like to take vertical control on. So that's where those C4s will work out very well for the side of NIP if they use them correctly.
Well, for the first time in this series, G2 are being challenged. NIP have awoken. Maybe that day off just took them a little bit of time to get back into the groove, but a groove they've now found. And it's all 5 players for NIP as well that have started well here on Bank. Another drone spotted. Did not get dealt with. 5 drones up for G2, just under 2 minutes. Alamau towards the skylight, towards top main. No kills yet for Alamau, no kills yet for Doki as well. Only the 1 for Blaz. So the firepower that we saw on Kafe has been diminished. Now on Bank. Logic Bomb activated by Stompin. 6 and 2. Certainly his firepower has not been put out here on Bank. 90 seconds though. G2's pacing has been stalled a little bit.
Yeah, good.
Corridor swing from Fantasy, and Alamau was not ready for it. A drop down through the elevator, the escape route has been successfully taken. Another opening pick for NIP.
Cons is going to go down to the basement now. That's where we did see Stompin playing a little while ago, but he's pushed up all the other way side by blue.
Cons can come kill Stompin if Stompin's not ready for a blue push.
Yeah, look at that. Like he's threatening to go around that way. Stompin's got to be incredibly quick. He's on the drone now as well, so this could be as free a pick as you could possibly get. And Cons is now pushing up. It looks like Stompin knows.
Well, the first time in the series that it feels like G2 are being dictated by what NIP wanted to. Stompin having to take this battle over towards server. Low at the bottom of blue stairs, and Cons will win it out against the rookie sensation. NIP taking a nice advantage here on Bank. 5 versus 3. Not a lot of time now for G2 in this attacking round. Surely not another attacking round that they are failing to find. Easy pick, though, for Loira. But Cons does not need to swing. He can wait for G2 to have to push into the site, defaulting to Archives. Immediately, the downfall for Loira, leaving Blaz by himself towards open, and it's flawless for NIP. We have a series.
And again, what they're doing is isolating a lot of these individual players for G2. There's no trade game coming in from them whatsoever, and that's something that they've done really well against FaZe. They're going to call the timeout with just 2 rounds left on their attacking phase. But this is so much better. You know, we spoke about the fact that NIP didn't play yesterday. They're coming into the day cold. They're now on defense on a map which is historically attacker favored in both of these regions against a team who dominated the current SI champions on this map yesterday. And they're holding their ground. They're standing strong. But the big thing for me here, Jake, is the fact that it's not even close rounds. They're dominating some of these rounds on defense. G2 don't even look like they've got a chance.
So the early timeout from G2 will expire as they talk things over. 3-1 deficit failing here on the attack of Bank, as we pointed out, attacker-sided map. They are getting tested now for the first time in this series. Kafe, incredibly one-sided. G2 did as they pleased. There wasn't much of a contest from NIP, both on attack or defense. But on Bank, it's a different story. Sometimes we get these weird worlds where teams just take each other's map pick, and you think, was there an error behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Did they actually pick the other way? And the funny thing as well with this map, Veto, these are just maps that both teams like. Both teams like all 3 maps. NIP certainly have got good history on Lair as well. G2, of course, recency in terms of playing it against Shopify Rebellion 2 days ago. Lost that, but they were competitive. 2 more rounds in the half. 3-1 lead for NIP.
NIP don't ban this map. Like last stage they didn't. You know, the record was 2-2. You know, it's their first preference.
It's a case of just 2 teams that have got similar map pools.
Yeah, they picked it 3 times. So I think that you look at Bank, it's a 2-2 record against a 2-1 record. It's the side that are 1 up on the series, but NIP needed to make something happen, and they're doing so in the early stages. Now, we go back to the top floor. Last time this round hinged on the gunfight that Doki did not win as he pushed through stock. He was, of course, playing on the demos last time. This time around, you've Stompin on Glass, you've got Ying, you've got Grim. It's a very execute-heavy lineup that they're brought. A lot of operators are there for when it is time to go.
It's a lot of setup as well for players like, well, essentially Stompin and even Loira, who is, yes, playing the Habana, but you look at Alamau, Doki, you have to find a kill each, but you're playing Grim and you're playing the Ying. So you want to get that utility out to help facilitate for the guys like Stompin, Blaz, and Loira to then go maybe find the kills. But as I said, the way that NIP have been playing, far more active on defense here on Bank.
If Loira can deal with Wizard, who's currently playing behind the class shield, that isolates Cons, and that's when you can start seeing Doki throw some of those Candelas in to blind the Johnny player and allow for that execute to happen. Everybody stacked up. Even get rid of the mirror. Now, by smoking off that line of sight, you can get rid of that mirror window. That makes Cons' position even more difficult to play.
So a 4-stack on the Repel, that overview highlighting for G2 how much emphasis they're putting on the Repel game here in this 5th round means a lack of map control. In fact, not a single player inside of the building currently for Bank with 90 seconds in the round. In fairness, top floor, you don't necessarily need a whole lot of map control, and certainly playing around that Repel and airlock position to go for a quick plant, it's very much a common strategy.
Doki's options here are going to be to try to blind Fantasy and try to blind Wizard. Then Alamau can come in and go for that plan.
Oh,
that's
Fantasy.
what you want to do, but Fantasy...
That's the glass.
He's going to get the glass. That's a massive part of the execute. The stun grenades are going to go off from the Candelas as Doki will repel in here. But look at the kill. Look at this, it's a 4v3.
Hayes was ready for it though and had a little bit of that first floor control to fire back. Got the trade, so Laura, yes, Was able to get rid of Fantasy. Where's Doki going though? Caught by Pino up towards Banana, and it's all too easy for NIP. Where has this switch come from? They look dead and gone on Kafe, but suddenly they rise like the Undertaker here on Bank.
It's another big pick. You know, you look at who they got rid of. You got rid of the Glass, and all of a sudden, G2 are like, right, we've lost one of our cover operators. We're going to swing in anyway. And you just lose player after player. NIP coming to life here on Bank. 1 round away from a 5-1 half. G2 desperately searching to get that 4-2 split now at this point, because this, as we said, is an attacker-favored map. And the side of choice is going to be where we
was
start.
not expecting this half at all.
No, we didn't. But look, they're starting where they finished. And it's essentially the same lineup that they brought in round number 1 that G2 dismantled. Let's see if it's the same situation now.
I don't think they had the Kaid. I think that might be the only change
Maybe.
up. Could be wrong. But you're right. In terms of what they played last time, though, they didn't remember have the Chunker because he died essentially straight away over towards Staff, an open area. And Collins now 7-2 and has been a main facilitator in terms of frags, along with Pino. And I remember highlighting this, I think it might have been with you back on day 1, that for NIP, like one of the maps, the first map, it was all about Hates and Fantasy. The second map, it was all about Cons and Pino. Wizard had some good moments. They've got firepower of their own. Final round of this opening half. Back on Kafe, G2 had a 5-1 half. They eventually then closed out. NIP now looking to do the same on Bank and set us up for a grandstand quarterfinal to kickstart the playoffs.
Looking at the lineup the G2 have, you bring Sense. Now, there's a couple of executes that can be enabled by Sense here. One is that you get control of open area, and you do it. That's why we're seeing it reinforced. You know, in the past, they've played this site, they've played with the open area hatch open, and a player putting some pressure on. But this is basically a full turtle defense now from NIP. Only Pino is not on site. He's playing on blue stairs and with the Warden. So if you throw any flashes or stuns, it's not going to help. Now, what I love about this is when you play this position, if it gets too hot, you pop that Goyo canister, you drop down into some cover. But what G2 need to clear this, if this is what they want, is some pressure coming from dirt below.
The biggest difference this round now is that Shamika launcher that you can hear in the background is going to be viable for NIP. It will be online. Last time out in that opening round, it was shut down immediately. And actually, Loira has not found a kill since that opening round, since those opening 2 entry kills. Alamau still yet to find a kill, and Doki only got 1 in the previous. They are lacking kills. They are getting decimated.
What's the good news for G2 then?
There's a second half.
So, looks like they will now get control of blue. Stompin will walk on down. The Sumika launcher, yeah. But it doesn't do that an awful lot of damage. You know, to be honest, you can step through it if you want to. That's what they do. They need to open up this wall to enable the plant. You've sensed off the swing from Pino. See, they've still got 3 C4s though. So even if that Sens wall is up, it doesn't stop the C4 from going through it.
A lot of drones still available for G2, so should have good information. They haven't popped this Vulcan canister though, and there's 50 seconds left. Frag grenade thrown in to deal with it. Still 2 ROUs available for Alamau on the Sens to block off more of that line of sight. Pressure from Doki towards main stairs. 4 incendiaries left in that Shamika launcher. Hates will deal with Loira. No more Kawan Hive launcher. G2 stalled out once again. And those Nitro cells are still available for NIP.
28 seconds to go. Tachanka's been targeted by Deimos. Now, big round for G2 as Alamau will find one. But walking into sight is Fantasy. It's a 3v1 NIP, 5-1 half, and they are roaring. That's the bounce back they needed.
G2's already taken their time out. They've already talked things over, and nothing has changed. A 5-1 half from NIP on the defense on the map that is the most attacker-sided in both EML and SAL. I'm speechless. I don't know where this has come from, especially after what we saw in Kafe. Total reversal for NIP. They looked completely asleep in the opening map, but they've well and truly awoken. The beast has awoken for NIP on Bank.
I worried. I genuinely thought the worst. Whenever this game started...
That opening round on Bank, I was like, oh, here we go again.
Yep, you were like, okay, probably going to be a 7-2. Say bye-bye to NIP. They've bounced back. And if you look, I love looking at the body language. NIP now looks so relaxed. What's changed for you? What are you seeing? Like, it seems to me that A, G2, not taking on gunfights with as much information as they're able to do in Kafe, but B, NIP are playing with more confidence. They're being more aggressive with their peaks. They're challenging G2 where G2 want to enter the map, and they're winning those gunfights.
So what if G2 got on their own defense on Bank? Otherwise, Lair looks like we may be heading there.
Did you mean to rhyme that, or was that just off the cuff? Poet and you didn't even know it. That's fine.
Exactly.
You know, for G2, I think this is like a massive momentum shift of a round. You lose this, and you allow NIP to go on match points straight away. You're in a tough situation. This is essentially where NIP were. You know, you think back to the last map.
Well, that in itself, then, you could kind of look to as a positive for G2 if you really want to stretch the truth a little bit, because if NIP were in this position on the opening map, and now NIP are playing this way on the second map, then there's no reason G2 can't then do the same on Lair.
Okay, I follow your logic. I follow it.
Or maybe it's like dominant, equal on Lair, and we get an absolute banger to close out. We're not there yet, though. G2 will go defense themselves. Not impossible for them to, of course, emulate what NIP just did. And this is the funny thing, and kind of why after Kafe, I was thinking immediately when we got off, I was like, this is going to be 2-0.
Yep.
G2, even on defense, should be aggressive on a map like Bank and look to stop a lot of the setup from NIP, which is what they did back on Kafe. A lot of that is rather similar on Bank. But now they've left themselves in a hole. Now they've got a long way to catch up. They have to play perfect every round.
I love situations like this. This is where your mental is really tested as a player. Few things straight off the bat. Looks like NIP are not going to be as reliant as players on the rappel as maybe G2 were in this situation. You do have, you know, playing from afar, Wizard on the glass. He'll look to find any free kills, but the castle barricade...
No.
What castle barricade? Let's see if we can get it. That one a bit better.
Nope. Comes!
I've seen this too many times in my ranked games, not going to lie.
I've seen this too many times in APL. Actually, not really, to be honest. That's actually not one that usually does get missed. Well, that is the benefit of being 5-1 up, though, for NIP. You can afford to make the odd little mistake here or there, or even lose a round here or there. Double mirror set up over towards Janitor.
It's not often you see that double mirror setup, if I'm being brutally honest with you. It's a little bit different from Alamao as he plays that position. You can see NIP now starting to put some pressure on the windows. Nobody from G2 in a position to swing from below, because Fantasy will keep control of everything by ATMs as he will drone out and see what's available to him, what options he has. I always think that if you look at it, they're giving him the ATM's walk up if he wants it. There's nobody playing inside of Elevator. You've got Blaz in this position, but I think if you push up, Blaz and Stompin need to work together on the top of these stairs to clear this position.
Final Logic Bomb activated by Fantasies. He makes his way up towards Banana. That Nitrocell forced him back into the sightline of Blaz. Good pick. Consto trade onto Loira elsewhere. Now Lamao's down, by the way, inside of Janitor. So no smoke, no gas, babes. Wizard on the glass could get impactful as well with the smokes going out. Hates finds the pick onto Alamao. The attack of NIP so far slicing through the defense. But Wizard on the glass shut down by Blaz. How ironic. Now a 3v2 as Stompin tompin the kill onto Cons. G2 bringing it back on the defense with 20 seconds left. All down to Hates and Pino. Hates will get tagged up. They'll double stack together over towards top square. But there's so little time. They essentially have to just hope for the best. Walk in, spray and pray. But the prayers will not be answered, and G2 will find their second round on Bank.
Yeah, that was one that it wasn't pretty from G2, but it got the job done. A couple of really nice things from NIP, though. They didn't really smoke off the mirror windows. They didn't try to get rid of them at any point. They just sent the buck below to clear that position of Janitor. They got the down, they got the kill, but there's certain power positions that even in a numerically disadvantaged position like NIP or the G2 were, if you hold that cross and you know they're going to walk directly through sight, it's easy to line them up and knock them down. But it's still 5-2. Still a long ways to go before I'll say G2 are back inside this game, but it's a start.
Got to start somewhere, though. 5-2. God, the similarities of Kafe, though, isn't it? It's so similar. The only difference was G2 went 6-1 up. And then, yeah, a couple of rounds for NIP, but then G2 put it to bed.
As we go to open area, we go back to another one of those sites where Verticality can be so powerful. We've seen players creep in through basement. It's something that G2 tried to do with Stompin', but he got flanked by Cons in the early stages. As we get that lineup locked in and confirmed, with a Habana, well, one, you can open up the hatches below, but the main thing is that quad wall. Give yourself the option to go through square if needs be, and I think that for NIP, just do all the right things. G2 will always give somebody at least one gunfight that you can win inside a game, because G2 know that if they win it, you know, they're willing to take risks at the risk of maybe losing a powerful position inside of a game.
See you on the other side.
Decent amount of entry utility available for NIP in this round. The Grim, the Ying, the Deimos as well to put pressure on a defender of G2, gain a bit of information back as well. But I like the ally here. The Grismot mines can certainly hinder those entry rushes if they're placed correctly. Castle barricades too need to be dealt with. So far, slow approach though from NIP.
Yeah, slow so far as Candelas are going to get tossed in, spraying through the Janitor as Legion will get targeted, repel in off the back of those Candelas, but Alamau will stay play behind. Look, Loira will find a kill onto Fantasy. And
Fantasy was just standing still.
Yeah. But Hates pulls one back, so Loira's back to 4 versus 4, and you can see they still know where some of these defenders are. This is a vitally important gunfight. If Wizard can win a Pino, will certainly help finding one below.
Wizard should know. There's still one inside a Janitor shooting in the back of Alamau. Alamau's still alive, but eventually will get taken down. He had a small reprieve. Wizard didn't quite put the bullets all needed into his back. Alamau had one then opportunity to fire back, but was unable to do so and leave Stompin' and Blaz in a 2v3 with a minute remaining in the round. G2, again, so much put onto the shoulders of this rookie.
Blaz is on marble stairs. He's waiting for someone from NIP to maybe push down to that section of the map. This could be a critical gunfight in this game, but you know as well as I do that NIP will slow things down at this point. Their drone economy is not great. They've only got 3 that they can work with between now and the end of the round. The Grimbees will stop initial push, but as we get to 30 seconds, this is the problem with NIP. They've got very little time to make this execute work.
Certainly winnable from here for G2, despite the one-man disadvantage. So much riding on Blaz and Stompin'. Otherwise, they'll be staring down 6-2, and multiple map points would go the way of NIP. 3B canisters left in this Kawan Hive launcher, but Wizard will think better of it. Goes through Beepers. Stompin' will get one. Contact made from Blaz inside of open. Wizard taken low. Now down and only Cons up. They are doing it. G2 with the man disadvantage, not worried whatsoever by the 3 members of NIP. They cut them down one by one.
That was too slow. When you're G2 and you know that they've got a numbers advantage, but nothing's happening with 15 seconds left, there's only so many places they can come from. Stompin' steps up once more, gets the fights.
Look at the pressure on Doki's face. They're feeling it here because they know full well if they bring this map back, they could close this series out and book their place into a semi-final tomorrow.
Early timeout on the attacking half by NIP.
Yeah, I mean, early in the half, but in the game itself at 5-3, a little bit of momentum being built up for G2. I don't mind it.
I actually had a big conversation with like 4 coaches one day about timeouts, how they use them, what they do it for. Some of the coaches, they literally take a timeout to say, good job, guys, keep doing what you're doing. You know, everything's going fine. You know, just a little bit of just telling the team that they can do what they do. But some coaches, they think that if they've seen 1 or 2 rounds, it's not going the way, they want to nip it in the bud straight away. They're like, guys, we're getting into bad habits. This is what we did in Kafe. We're getting way too slow. Speed it up. Because if you don't take that time out now, you do the exact same thing in the next round. G2 are only 2 rounds behind you. And at that point, what can you change? I love the timing of this one. And honestly, if you're G2 as well, what's wrong with saying, keep it up, keep that aggression on defense. You know that if you punch them in the face early on, they go into their shells and they play so slowly.
2 rounds in a row for G2. So from 5-1 to now 5-3, we go basement bank off the back of this timeout. Dare I say, pressure on this round now for NIP. Otherwise, it's 5-4. You lose after a timeout, and you lose on one of the better defensive sites on this map. Yeah, there's pressure on this round, most certainly.
Spoke about Tachanka as well, about the fact that he's so multifaceted. You can create rotates in the blink of an eye. Those Tamika launchers, you've got way more of those than you have smoke canisters that you can use to delay time. Looks like they're going to leave the open area hatch soft for now. Alama will probably play above at some point. He'll open that hatch, retract back towards the site. But Doki and Alama, they're going to play together. You've got Blaz playing over by elevator, so 3 defenders for G2 playing on the main floor. Pino over by ATMs will begin to drone everything in. And way back on open area, you've got just an attempt from Hates to find an early kill, but this is just what I always like to call the fishing stage. You're just trying to see if you can maybe catch somebody early, but there's so much time to work with.
Funnily enough, in Europe, Lockers and CCTV has the highest defensive win rate. In South America, though, it has the equal highest attacker win rate.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. NIP will be liking their chances here. G2 will be liking their chances here. Essentially a 5-man stack for G2 basement. Blaz's first floor out of this, but he'll drop in, well, as I'm saying it, he's already then dropped. Lair will play blue stairs on the smoke with the shotgun. Good position to hold.
Look, it's the timing thing, right? 1 minute and 20 gone. You fall back to site. You've used up enough time. You've still so many opportunities. Now you're getting some pressure from above, so you fall back to red. It's G2, they're playing time, but they're not giving away ones. They're putting enough pressure to use up that time, because even though there's so much of it, I still think it's always been NIP's worst enemy.
Better get these shock drones into sight, deal with the Vulcan canisters. Just over a minute. I do agree. I think time right now is in favor of G2, unless NIP change things up quickly. They can rotate over towards Vault. When you've got these ROUs as well, it is versatile. Allows this Vault drop to be a little bit more successful. And Koto, Wamai, a nuisance with those magnets. 4 Candelas available for Pino. Vulcan canister popped at the doorway entry position in towards the site. 45 seconds. 3 gas babes still available for Lair though, Gibbs. So it means that there's not going to be much time available for NIP in this round. They are getting stalled out by G2.
Yeah, Cons is the player with the case. He's got no support over by server as we get ready for the extra.
It goes deep.
Yeah, the smoke pushes them to go deep.
They might not be ready for this. That's not the conventional way to play this at all. NIP just flipped the switch and go aggressive, and G2 were not ready. They thought they had stalled them out. They thought they would respect those gas babes, but no, disregarded them completely and flawlessly. NIP show us what they can do on that site. And not playing in the conventional way catches G2 off guard.
And what did NIP do just before that round started? They took a timeout, they spoke about it, and they were able to execute that to perfection. At that time, there was only 1 player over by server. That was the guy with the case. And as you said, no respect, just sprinted straight
How many
through
times do you see that gas babe, and then it's the fallback into server out of respect of it? And it's then, okay, I'm not going to go deep to just stick behind the bomb chassis. You see that sometimes as well. It's the third option. I'm going to go past the bomb chassis. I'm going to peek red. I'm going to shoot. You're not ready for that, are you? Because you're expecting me to plant because there's so low time.
And you know what?
And they had the vault pinch as well.
And what enabled that was the fact that both the hatches were in control of NIP as well. So you can't swing through the rotate to stop the plant from going down. You can't swing below the other hatch in open area because it's the exact same story. So match point NIP, I should say map point NIP in the second game of this best of 3. 1 more round in regulation will secure a trip to Lair, but for G2, they force overtime. They could end the series here and now. They'll go. Looks like they're going to go for that same double Mira setup inside of Janitor.
It's been rough for Doki, Alamau, and Loira. Loira 1 kill in 8 rounds. Alamau 1 in 9 rounds and Doki 2 in 9 rounds. I mean, it's been really difficult to find success for G2 when you've got 3 of the 5 players that just can't find kills. They're just losing all their battles.
It actually looks worse than things looked for NIP at the same stage in the last map, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So 6-3, 3 opportunities now for Ninjas in Pyjamas to close out this second map of the series and force us to Lair, the decider for this quarterfinal matchup. A reminder, the winner of this game will play the winner of Virtus.pro and Furia. Doesn't get any easier.
I don't even know which one of those two teams you'd want to face. Like, as
Virtus.pro in current form, not really.
Yeah.
Furia at their very best, no, not at all.
Did you hear what Guz said on the broadcast yesterday? It was like, it actually might get easier for here, for Furia and W7M, for whatever team qualifies. But at the early stages of the round, they'll open up that elevator, rotate the Kanto position, which gives you full line of sight and cuts off all the rotates. So Loira will be forced now to play inside stock for the rest of the round. Repelling on the windows now is Pino. No real pressure from G2 onto positions like Square. Instead, they're electing to play over by stock, keep Alamo in sight. There's no buck from below like they had success with last time from clearing Alamo's position. So for NIP, you can take a lot of space, but G2 are still holding the position that was a problem from NIP the last time they tried to execute on the site.
Well, often you see the Yana these days, either, to be honest, hates 8-4, feeling like he's got that license and he found the opening pick onto Stompin', but 2 back for G2, leaves them breathing here on Bank. Player advantage, up goes Fantasy towards main stairs, steps on the goo mine, expects the pressure up close from the Legion of Loira. Loira, I'm not sure exactly what he was trying to do there. He went for the top rope jump down and Fantasy will get the free kill with the pistol. Makes it a 3 versus 3. Well over a minute left.
Look at the setup that NIP have. It's 2 hard breachers and the Zoth. This point in time, and then you look on the other side of the coin, we're on land. 2 players for G2 with DMRs can sit back and hold long-range angles.
And defenders rather separate as well.
Yep.
Blaz first floor, Alamau by himself and Janitor basically on an island. Doki's long desk, he can help out a little bit. Pino top square opening up towards the site. Breach successful. Alamau not moving at all, but he's only had 1 kill so far on this entire map. Needs to really find a second at minimum to help out G2 in the final 30 seconds. Pino expecting that Janitor swing, and Alamau did catch out Wizard. Towards Banana goes Fantasy, losing the battle outside front desk. Nicely done from G2. They stay alive and keep the pressure on NIP.
There was a second when I was watching that, and the flank was coming from the attackers. Everyone was facing towards Square, but the barbed wire came in clutch. You hear the barbed wire, you turn around, you win the gunfight. It is now 6-4. NIP still on match point. G2 a little bit closer, but we're starting to see the players that you called out for not having the impact on this map that you would want, starting to get a couple of kills. Look, I'm always biased as a caster. I want to get as many maps as possible. I want 3 maps, and we're in a great position to do so. But if G2 pull this one back as well, it'll be
5-1 down.
Exactly.
To close out the series and progress to a semi-final, it'd be one for the ages. Certainly this new look G2 would be one of their better series wins.
Yep. Where do you rank this G2 team when you think back to some of the old ones?
Too early.
You think it's... Early signs are positive, though.
Very positive early signs. Too early, though. Let's reconvene that conversation maybe by, let's say, after SI next year. You could gain a little bit more of intel. Long way to go still for this G2 roster, but so many promising signs here at the Esports World Cup. But if they cannot win the next 2 rounds, a 3rd map will be needed, and who knows what can happen on Lair.
Looking like the lineup, again, you bring the glass, so you're hoping to catch players out with a lot of that utility. You know, you look at the attacker, they've brought 4 smokes in the back pocket, 4 nades. The drone economy is actually excellent, but that's par for the course on a map like Bank. There's so many places that you can hide them where they're difficult to spot, so information game should
Impressive
be...
from Stompin' here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Look at this, but the Sumika should stop it, but NIP have shown they have no real respect.
Got to be careful of this glass, though. Alamau is there on the Warden, of course, to help counter. This is not often that you'll see like a 2v2 over towards Garage. I would imagine for NIP, their thinking is maybe we have Stompin' pinned. Alamau must continue to help out and cannot leave Stompin' here stranded on an island. That means for 2 members of the defense now, with then only 2 other players in the building, NIP can utilize the numbers advantage elsewhere and keep these 2 distracted.
full information on these players too, but as you spoke about, Wizard and Pino on the other side of the map are getting ready to push over from that server side in a little few minutes time, and it's the Tachanka that you're holding here too. This is one of the operators that can slow down any execute types.
If Hades finds this pick over towards Blaz, really opens up the map, and Stompin will fall to the Glaz, and G2 themselves might fall as a team here on Bank. 3 players left standing, the push to come down the hallway. Hades didn't even fire a shot. He just kind of walked past the bullets. Alamau got beaten as well towards Garage. And NIP are now on the verge of sending us to a 3rd map in this quarterfinal.
Big gunfight here. Can Loira step up? 4 and 9. Playing on the smoke as things stand. Blaz playing. They're right beside each other as they go back towards. But this is where
they slow it down. They drone.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is where you slow it down. Work out where those 2 players are playing. If there's anything NIP are good at, it is slowing the tempo down when they need to.
Very Brazilian style of Siege right now. Big advantage, but you don't rush in. Head of steam, slow, approach, get the drone intel. By the way, there's 2 Vulcan canisters in there, but they can't get anywhere near to pop them, and the plant will go down from Cons. So now Loira in a 1v4 post-plant, despite that kill onto Hates, he essentially needs the full-blown ace in the next 40 seconds. Very much not going to be possible. Knockdown onto Fantasy. Cons has already called the good half. He is that confident. 1 gas bay for Loira. Past the bomb chassis. 2 players close inside of server. Frag grenade keeps him at bay for a little bit longer. Gas babe in hopes of maybe keeping them away from this door. Yellow ping information, but sorry Loira, that time is against you. There is no time left. We will go to Lair. That 3rd map is required. The Brazilians have sent us to Lair in this quarterfinal. The Ninjas in Pyjamas have woken up after their dismal display on Kafe. They're far too strong on Bank.
G2 couldn't nip this game in the bud early on. We're going to a 3rd map, as you said as well. A map where I think both teams will be tested. But look at that, 3 players up into the double digits. Cons is up there, Fantasy is up there. That is what we expect from NIP. And now it is just essentially a best of 1 between these 2 sides to find out who will progress at EWC and whose journey will end here on Thursday.
I mean, a fantastic match where NIP were just far too good in that first half. They were the ones flexing their muscles in a similar fashion to what we saw from G2 on Kafe. G2 then started to get things back a little bit, but again, it's basically the same story, copy-pasted from the first map to the second, but we had a role reversal of the teams. That's really the main difference.
And I wasn't expecting it. Like, everything looked like it was going to go G2's way in the early stage of that game, but NIP came swinging back. I'm going to ask you right now, because I know that we all love being the one to ask that question. Any predictions before we go to a break on who will win the 3rd map?
You're going to have to watch and find out, Gibson. That's the correct answer. Short break on the other side. The final map of this quarterfinal is required.
Lately, I feel I can't find my feet. Pushing closer, my heart skips a beat, and now I'm falling deeper than a fly. I can't control it. Dark against the sky, it's not so black and white. It's like I told him.
So it comes down to the final map of this best-of-3 quarter-final. Win, you progress to a semi-final. Lose, and your time at the Esports World Cup comes to an end. Comes down to Lair, a map that both teams have had success on, Gibson, in recent time, and it promises to be, hopefully, a grandstand finish for these two teams who have shown equal strength on the two maps we've played thus far.
Yeah, we were talking about it in the break. I think that neither of them are going to be upset with the 3 maps that we got in this series, as they all have positive memories here, but you look back, the last time G2 played this map was in a best-of-3 against Team Secret, who are still alive in the tournament as well, and they won that game in overtime with a score of 8-6. However, earlier on in the season, we did see NIP play there during SAL, and they won a game on there 7-0.
Yeah, against Black Dragons. They did lose to Liquid on this map 7-8, but Liquid's really good on Lair. And G2 themselves did also lose on Lair here at the Esports World Cup against Shopify Rebellion. Rather defender-sided map. Starting on the defense will be G2, so that's where you want to be in the first half to get yourself, into a good score position. But it means for NIP, they kind of get the first crack at things to try and steal some attacker rounds in the first half and put the pressure on G2.
And there's almost like a poison chalice winning the first round in this game, because whichever team in the previous 2 maps won the first round went on to lose it.
The next 5 rounds.
Exactly. So, it's been a case of just growing into the game for some of these teams. G2, of course, massive expectations coming in from Europe. People arguing the best team we have in Europe right now. And NIP, 3rd place team in Brazil. People argue that Brazil, well, I don't think you could even have to make the argument anymore. Brazil is the strongest region in Siege at this point in time. And you look at the teams that they usurped to get here. Liquid aren't here. Los aren't here. NIP beat out tons of excellent opposition inside of SAL. They've earned the right to be here, and I don't think that anybody can take them lightly.
You think back to the Esports World Cup last year, the 4 Brazilian teams, all 4 made the playoffs, and then 3 of the 4 made the semi-finals. Of course, we know who ended up winning the whole thing, but
If NIP were to lose here at the G2 and then Virtus.pro beat Furia, it would mean no Brazilian teams make top 4. I can't recall the last major event in Rainbow Six Siege where that has happened. I'd have to think really long and hard about that one as we head into the ban phase. As I mentioned before, G2 will begin on the defense, which is very much a defender-sided map layer. Clash, Monty, banned out. I love to see that. I don't want to see the shield play here on the final map, and it's quite ironic that Jasmine said at the start of the show, no more best of ones, it's all best of threes. Well, guess what? This becomes essentially a best of one now.
And I love it. As the good situation now, we get to the next ban phase, and G2, obviously, they're going to go for different attacking bans than what they did historically. Like, they usually like to get rid of hard breachers on a map like this, but they have gotten rid of Monty and Ying, 2 staples of Brazilian play. But first round, real good chance. Maybe we'll finally see a team take advantage of a first round victory. But on a map like Lair, the one thing that Lair provides, I think, no other map really does, is there's so many positions that you have to clear. There's so many spots that a roaming defender could be in that could cause you problems going to the late game. And with G2 starting on defense, they got to take advantage of that.
So it comes down to this, best of one. Winner moves on to the semi-final. It's been a bit of a fairy tale kind of stage overall for Ninjas in Pyjamas in terms of what they were able to do in the South America League and the qualification to the Esports World Cup and their performance here. Does that fairy tale come to an end here in the quarterfinals for G2? Winners of EML, expectations finally placed on this roster once again. But could it all come crashing down? One of these two teams, well, their fairy tale does come to an end today.
Yeah, and I always feel like just by playing under the G2 tag, there's inherently more pressure on you because of what legacy players did for this team. So this version of the roster, you always expect one. But you could argue this, like, NIP are one of the biggest names inside of Siege. Yes, they've been on the island of irrelevancy for a little while, you know, outbeaten.
About a year and a half.
Yeah, that's an eternity.
It's a long time
inside.
in esports.
We've got a new Siege, essentially, since then.
So what can they do on the attack here for Ninjas in Pyjamas? Stealing these early attack rounds will be so vital to release that pressure eventually into the second half. If they've got a couple of attack rounds under their belt, means for G2 they need to be switched on. Kafe, one-sided. Bank, one-sided. Will Lair prove to be a little bit different and create a more evenly matched up environment?
A lot of the G2 players playing tight together at this point in time, using the verticality of this map. And as you can see, you know, players inside of display, storage, mask room, all looking to provide a problem. Now, Hates will continue to open up that site wall with the Maverick. G2 should have eyes on when they elect to plant. And something that G2 were very open to was that little... Oh, there we go, Alma with the first kill on the Fantasy. I was about to say, they didn't really get the opening kill all that often, and Alma will straight in with the abuse.
Not going to lie, though, for Alamau, there was not any abuse on Bank because he could barely find a kill. But he feels confident off the back of that opening pick. Isn't in control for Cons. Not often you see Punks and Briefing as the opening site choice when it does come to Lair. It's actually attacker-sided in the South America League. That's not really conventional. Goomine stepped on for Wizard. Logic Bomb was sent out. Just under a minute remaining. NIP have had moments where they can play rather slow in the series thus far and been at their best when they pick up their pacing.
Blaz is inside of security as well. The logic bombs are going to be deployed, so that'll give away the positions of so many of these players at this point in time. But you got to look at that Blackbeard being so important for this attack. You can see Cons.
Hates is ready for this, though, and Blaz is going to have no idea that he's sitting dark, but he does not lose his life. Only a shoulder tap. Hates has not got the time to sit there and watch, though. 24 seconds. They found at least one pick onto Doki, but Alamau finds his second already in the round. Feels like he's already matched his total from Bank. Blank going down, but it has been pinged up. Cons will stand up. Try and take the fight back to Alamau and wins it. And suddenly from the disadvantage for NIP, they could take this round. But Loira and Stompin are still alive for G2. Loira shuts down Wizard on the flank, but the plant will be successful. Now becomes a retake scenario for G2.
Really important now that the Blackbeard does not take any unnecessary risks. Force G2 into that air. 2 versus 2.
Gons goes down, stomping up above.
Yeah, he's going to go down, so it's all down to the Maverick now in this post-plant situation. Now, as it stands, look where Hits is over on the map feed. He's a long ways away from that diffuser, but he's got an angle to work with.
Got to play this smart, G2. You got 2 bodies, 2 players alive, play together. They know where Hates is now in the long angle, watching the kit. 12 seconds. Main thing for Hates here is less the kills and more so the time delay, but he gets taken down, and with that, it will be diffused by G2. They take this round in a nail biter to kickstart Lair. Stompin and Loira, the dynamic duo for G2, get them on the board.
The Blackbeard Fallen was critical for G2 to win that round, but remember, every single map in this series, the team that went on to win the first round lost the series. So G2 will be looking to rewrite history in this game against NIP. But first round underway, NIP lose. They got the case down. You thought that this was a brilliant scenario to be in, but G2 held the ground, got the job done. Now they're going to go back up to the top floor, up towards Master Office to reset things up. Anything about this side? Because obviously you've had more opportunities to cover this map that I have.
Very much plays into that slow play style. Almost think top floor Kafe in terms of you're not going to have a lot of that map control. You're going to poke and prod around the site itself. A lot of work needs to be done on the breaches. So the exterior is going to be where a lot of the battle is. The mezzanine control as well. Probably see some fights there.
Do you want an update from the games on the A stream?
Yes, but I feel like I'm not going to like the update.
So close your ears if you don't want to know what the score is, if you plan on watching it later. But Team Secret have won Chalet. They will progress. Weibo go home. But again, based on the start they had to APL this year, the fact they got this far is definitely shoots of growth for them. But we still got to send another team home here on Lair.
I think it says a lot about Secret. I mean, you could kind of look at it and say, well, it's an APAC team, but Weibo's strength yesterday was outstanding. They've been on the rise, but Secret, they look like a roster to me that's just so quietly getting it done. They might not get the plaudits of a G2, for instance, and I know they obviously, in Secret, didn't win EML, but yeah, they're showing some really good strength to kickstart this campaign of Siege this year, and on their path towards, you know, the majors and SIs, they're going to be a threat to come. And Secret will now play the winner of our next game, in Shopify Rebellion and Space Station sets up a NAV-EU battle for a semi-final.
Look, they're my dark horses for this event. I trust the coach. I think Secret will do pretty well, and they've now secured a game, another game on the main stage. But we're well underway on this map. As things stand, we got some pressure being opened up as the Selma charges will now go off. If you look at the positions of NIP, they're really trying to choke it out, right? All of them are on the exterior, on north, south, east, and west of the map, just trying to pinch those defenders into place.
So far, what you would expect, though, from top floor Master R6. Again, that slow approach, it can certainly play into the favor of NIP. They love that slow, structured setup. So calculated in the way that they attack at times. Nitrocell in hand for Doki. Through it, but over the shoulder of Fantasy, after Fantasy did land a couple of bullets into Doki, so that Nitrocell gets wasted.
Yeah, he needs some pressure. Doki needs some help here to get rid of Fantasy playing on top of Mez. Fantasy, really not there you go, there's the swing, but Fantasy wins those.
Fantasy was ready for the battle towards the mezzanine to eventually come through, but he was not ready for the angle held by Doki, hiding behind the chair. Big kill from Doki, and Wizard will fall on the Grim.
Another player goes
Another
down.
door swing from G2. They're trying to be aggressive against NIP, disrupt this setup that the Brazilians want to employ. Loira knocked down, up close. Alamau shotgun. He's feeling it here on Lair in comparison to the previous map, but maybe overcooked, overswung and punished by Pino. Blaz is the only one that's standing now with 30 seconds left. And he pushes. He wants to battle Pino.
That 2v1 decision to be made. Do you go to get Loira back on his feet? You can't really go for it. The fight's going to happen. NIP, they're going to get the round one, and they will level the sides once more. It's deja vu all over again, the way these maps play.
It's massive. Massive for NIP. They get an attacking round on the best defensive site on this map. That is a round in which G2 need to be winning.
This is you need a 4-2 if you're G2. I really feel like this is one of the maps where you got to capitalize on it. If NIP can get a 3-3 half, they'll be in a wonderful position, but it's so far away.
Sets them up then to be the favourites going into the second half if they can do that. Early days. It's funny, you mentioned the curse of winning the first round. For those unfamiliar, Kafe, it was NIP, an incredible display in that opening round, and then lost 5 rounds straight after, and the same was the case on Bank, where G2, incredible in the first round, and then lost 5 rounds straight. I'm not implying it all happened here again, but hey, funnier things have happened.
Well, correlation
And a
isn't
repeat
causation.
as well, which does make sense here for G2.
And you know what? I'd love to see NIP win a round or two now, just to see if it really puts the fear into G2 that, oh no, we're in that situation all over again. I'm looking behind me, and you can see G2 players, they still look very relaxed. I'd say the most relaxed player on the G2 is probably Stompin'. And he's probably, you know, he's sitting there going, the newest, the rookie player. And I guess the big thing is, he's got no scar tissue. He's not lost from situations like this before, and that's always something worth talking about, because the doubt's not going to creep into someone like that.
And don't forget, Alamau was confident after the first round, started throwing out bot comments once again that we saw earlier on Kafe. Not really going out on Bank. Haven't seen much trash talk, though, from NIP, but as they're winning these rounds, they're starting to find their voice more and more.
There's nothing better than the Brazilian roar on LAN, and as NIP keep winning rounds, they'll get louder and louder. Now we're in this round. Fantasy has already made his way inside the map at this point, as he will push his way on over. Might run into some resistance from Alamau on the opposite side, currently standing inside a storage. He's playing on the smoke, so he can hold back Fantasy for a little while, but hits with the buck below should be able to clear out that position.
Tracks out. Sting is active.
Cons is getting closer and closer to Alamau here.
Vulcan canister fire will expire. Gasbabe thrown out by Alamau, sensing pressure. Playing a very pivotal part of the map here for this top floor defense. Not afford to lose his life there in a peak. 2 Pino outside on the exterior at the balcony. Alamau definitely being tested now by NIP. The Blackbeard with the shield up, no damage done. Gasbabe and fall back, Vulcan canister popped, and Pino finds an angle onto Loira. It's a long angle on the entry.
Tough. This is tough. This is really, really dangerous now for Alamau, with pressure coming his way. 3 members.
No Gasbabe's left either.
Yet nothing left to stall back the push, as 3 members from NIP all begin to push their way over through storage. They've got to rotate back into sight. Now G2, they've still got Blaz over by Paintings, making sure that nobody can vault in that
Alamau's
side, but
down.
Alamau's going to go down.
Wizard taking the battle with Blaz. Blaz may feel like he has to go for this peak, find a pick back. Otherwise, they're getting overwhelmed here by the attack once again on this top floor. This would be disastrous for G2. And they lose Doki as well. Down to Stompin' and Blaz. Blaz will win his battle, and so did Stompin'. But as soon as he comes back around that corner, losing his life and leaves the rookie alone in a 1v3, the Blackbeard's too strong. The shield stays standing. And NIP will find a second attacking round on top floor. Lair.
And now we're starting to see those trends happen over again. NIP, 2 rounds on attack. G2, they're reeling, they're falling back, they're giving up way too much space here on Lair, and NIP are taking advantage of it. And the thing is, right, you looked at the setup that G2 brought. You had Alamau in storage with those toxic babes. You had multiple of the Goyo canisters in those positions for the Flames to just slow it down. But it only slowed down about 1.5 minutes. That is not long enough for the utility that they brought.
So they give up on top floor then,
Yep.
Okay? We'll go basement, we'll try there, maybe that will work. This is the concern now for me though, Gibson, is that if basement doesn't work and a 3rd attacking round is found for NIP, at that point, mentally for G2, you can't help but think, what do we now do? This is supposed to be defender-sided, and we can't defend any of these key primary sites.
And the thing is, globally, you look at basement on Lair, it's a toss of a coin. It's like 47% attacker win rate. So this is by no means a safe site whatsoever for G2.
Funnily enough, though, in South America League, it's a 62% defensive win rate. So there might be a world in which, for NIP being a Brazilian team in that region, they, along with the others in that region, may struggle a little bit in attacking this site. That could be a benefit for G2. And dare I say, I feel like they must win this round. If they lose this round, instant timeout. But then you've already given NIP the result they really would have wanted in this first half, which is 3 attacking rounds. You will be so far behind the 8 ball. In a do-or-die final map quarterfinal.
And then you look at this map, right? They've castled off over by barrels because a lot of teams, what they'll do is they'll put a little bit of pressure over by warehouse and then they'll work and take control of above. You know, they'll try to take control of armory, create some vert, isolate individual gunfights. And when you looked at the game against Shopify, one of the things that Shopify did really well was play into that. You know, really made it difficult to take control of that map, catch the attackers as they come down the site. So maybe G2 just learned something in that game that they can utilize. One thing I do like, when you bring the castle and you give it to somebody like Stompin, he can put those barricades down.
Oh no, Alamau, who started 3-1, now 3-4, and no longer talking inside of the server. Easy entry for Fantasy. Blaz got overwhelmed as well, finished off by Wizard, and just like that, 2 early kills for NIP. We haven't even seen basement yet. It's the roam game that has failed for G2.
That Scopo's gone, and that's one of your C4s, I believe, as well, that's been taken out of play. Instead of actually, so you've got 2 C4s left alive. Scopos is gone. You can't afford to lose those operators in their stage. And it's criminal to lose Scopos, because if the pressure's on, you run around the corner, you get safe, and you just teleport back to site.
Once again, G2 are on the back foot at this position. Constantly where they were at on Bank. And it feels like now it's become permanent. The doubt starts to creep in. NIP just need to keep playing that slow play style. But they lose Hades to Stompin towards Medical and makes the escape down the hallway and can also get back to site. Wants to keep taking these fights though, in hopes that he will keep getting aggressed upon by NIP. He did well to stall out and still made his way back to basement. Under a minute left. Still a player advantage though for NIP. Stompin doing everything he possibly can to give G2 a lifeline here in this 4th round. But he is pinched, he is cornered, he is stuck. Is there a way in which he can get himself out of this situation? The timing might help him. Cons. Wizard though, catches him at the stairwell. Stompin will fall. Loira and Doki, the only 2 left standing now.
Yeah, Wizard, he's pushed down to the bottom of these filtration stairs. The head holes, but there's nobody there. They'll try to delay outside some time now at this point from Doki, but NIP in a brilliant position. But Doki will find 1, going to 3 versus 2. This next fight could be there, but look, the Flames are going to hold them out. A little bit of damage done. Loira gets 1.
And
this
Wizard's
is
low.
G2.
Loira gets a 2nd and a 3rd. The Demon has arrived on there to save G2 in what looked like a round going the way of NIP. Loira remains them.
A 4 versus 2, and G2 win the round out, but it's all about choke points. There was, yes, you're down the numbers, but there's only one real place that they're going to push from because of how much time that NIP used, and G2 took advantage once more.
That is a massive reprieve for G2. Staring down the barrel of 3-1 deficit, they claw it back courtesy of Doki and Loira. Doki played that so well, went prone actually on site when the pressure was coming from NIP. They scout, they don't see, he pops up, he gets free kill, and then Loira is able to play off of that and get a couple himself. G2 take a timeout at 2-2 on the scoreline because they definitely yeah, they still got some things to talk about, clearly.
The first minute, everything went wrong. You lose a player in the first 10 seconds, then you lose the Scopos. Yes, you won the round, but it wasn't based off tactical brilliance, it was based off phenomenal individual plays. So G2 need to fix it, because if they keep playing like that on defense, there's definitely more rounds that can be found for NIP.
You cannot create holes in space on a map like Lair. The attackers will then just filtrate throughout the map. They will then be able to take so much control. And that's what we saw in that previous round. And again, you could kind of see that NIP wanted to play that slow style once they had the advantage. Credit to Stompin, though. He was able to get one back at an important time. Had he lost his life there, we're talking about a 5-on-2. Yeah. That's even more difficult then.
And look at the site we're going to. Bonk's briefing. Remember we went here in the very first round of the game, and NIP got the case down, and it came down to a 1 versus 1 with just like
1v2.
Yeah, but one player was going for the defuse, the other one was swinging. And it was right down to the wire. NIP did something similar. They found a few picks in the early stages onto G2 and created holes on the site. So for G2, it's confidence to come back here despite that first round.
The rounds that we've had on Lair have certainly been closer in nature than what we had in the first two maps. And the map itself now at 2-2 is also closer in nature. So looks like we're getting a top finish here for what's been a top quarterfinal so far. But a long way to go for both of these two teams. NIP's not going to be too fearful right now. They've already gotten 2 attacking rounds. Kind of job done. Still 2 more opportunities to find 1 more. They are in the better position. G2 still need to get more defensive rounds on a map like Lair. Bunks and briefing. 5th round. The most important thing for G2 is they've got to stop giving these entry wins to NIP. I know you want to be aggressive. You want to get into the face of the attackers. But try and find a way to just be a little bit more survivable.
Loira, the only defender currently playing inside of bunks. The rest of the attackers are on that top floor, setting up something similar that we saw over by Storage in our 6th room a little while ago, which will make it a little bit of a time delay. Like you can see Stompin playing on the Ella can play off the back of those Grismot mines. If someone pops off, he can swing, take on that gunfight when things are working his way. But one thing you got to worry about is the fact that Cons is bringing the blitz. NIP have had success with shields when we've come here, so do not let them take too much ground for free. Minute and 40 to go though, not a single bullet fired in anger against any members of the opposition either way. This all plays into the favor of G2.
Fantasy wanted to get that air jab out towards the deployable shield, make that no longer playable. Does do so successfully. Blaz at the end of this corner though. Fantasy's trying to push deep. He may get timed here on the swing, but Blaz doesn't think about going for it. And maybe in the earlier rounds, he would have. That seemed to be more of their mindset, but he falls back, wants to play with his teammates. Fantasy flashing himself.
This is all so slow and so patient. Blaz playing inside of server. Doki not too far away either as he currently stays inside our 6th room. Now the shield will start pushing in towards server. You look to clear position, but Loira will find the opener with the C4. Now the momentum is going to go in favor of G2. And there's a second kill. G2 taking control.
Well, guess what? You value your life, you stay alive, you protect the site, you protect the area, you get the round win. G2 bring it back to the basics. No more running around. That gets them fired up. 2 rounds in a row for G2.
3 rounds on defense, though. Is that enough? Do you feel they still need to win 1 more round and take a 4-2 split? Because if with this map being as defender-sided as it can be, you'll find that NIP will be more than happy with 2. If they can get a 3rd, that is a bonus. And we're going to go back to the top floor. It's Master or 6th room to close out the half. And funny enough, this is the most globally the most defender-sided
But it's where they've
site.
struggled.
I know. It's the irony of it all, right?
So final round of this half. If G2 can get it to 4-2, that is job done.
Yep.
That's the pass mark. For both teams, it's not to suggest that for G2 they will have end up, sort of winning the half. You're on defense layer. The expectation is to get these rounds.
I'm looking at the setup as well for G2. They're heavily reliant of Goyo. They have been all game long. You've got the fact that Doki will be playing with the Tachanka. He's got the shield set up not too far away from Mask, and he'll be looking to stop any push coming from that Mez side. Loira, you even look at this part of the setup. Usually, you'll see teams reinforce off one of the walls and contest with NIP when they walk into the building, but they're completely surrendering it. They're using the door as the early detection signal is when it's shot open, you know someone's pushing, and then Doki from behind the shield will be able to use the Smika to stop the push through Mez.
If G2 could just keep it basic here, similar to the previous round, the fallbacks, not over-peaking, not overstepping their mark, it means that NIP have to create more themselves, because I think the early part of this half, NIP themselves didn't have to create a lot because G2 were coming at them. So for G2, it's been a big change-up ever since that tactical timeout. And I know you said, they won the round, they made it 2-2, but then they called the timeout. Well, arguably, they probably should have lost that round. It should have been 3-1. So clearly they had things to work on.
And the timeout helped. You know, they came back and they won that next round in outstanding fashion.
That clutch from Loira and Doki has salvaged this map and potentially their time at this tournament.
Yeah, well,
Alamau, though, has still not found a kill since the opening round.
He's not really had the best day at the office here on Lair so far, but...
And he's the smoke as well.
Yeah. That's actually a great point, because he's the operator that's in by storage. Well, so then now Loira has to take that position of fighting from inside of storage and stopping that push from the other side.
And less stall out possible without the gas canisters. Pino is low. In response to that opening pick, did take some damage back. 4 drones remain for NIP. Make that 3.
Cons is alone with the case, by the way. He's the one pushing through Skybridge at this moment in time. The rest of the members of NIP are pushing the other side of the map. So if Loira is going to do some damage, he's going to step right, he's going to drop below. That's clever with the fact that Doki with the Smika stops that from happening.
And Cons on the backside finds the pick onto Loira, not expecting it. Fully anticipating their swing towards the mezzanine. Blaz, what a pick though onto Fantasy. Great headshot from the elevated position. Wizard still outside in the exterior. Fighting Blaz, who's trying to defend this mezzanine position.
Cons rotating down right away as well. Blaz will make it a 3v3, but pushing on to Mez is Cons with the case. He's got Blaz, though, to deal with. He's having a massive impact on this game as he'll rotate back towards it.
Cons, Pino, both very low. This is very winnable for G2, especially on defense in a 3v3 with low time remaining in the round. Not much that Stomp and Blaz and Doki need to do from here, but hold their positions. Stay alive. Watch these doorway positions, but Stompin lost his life. Traded though by Blaz rather quickly, but then Doki falls. It's all down to Blaz. 2 players that are very low at quarter now looking for the ace. 1 second in time. Cons needs to find their pick and can't do it. It may not be an ace from Blaz, but the 4 kills do enough for G2 to find their 4th round. How fitting.
Do you know how much reserve he had this show? He had a quad kill. You're thinking I can get the ace, but he didn't take the risk. He knew just by staying behind the shield that the round was won. Not a lot of players would show that restraint.
G2. Oh, what a game so far. So they win 3 rounds straight. Started with that Loira clutch, and they've kicked on ever since. NIP now go defense themselves.
I don't even know where this game can go from here. We know how strong this map is for the defending side, but G2 have done what they needed to do. They won their 4 rounds, and this now becomes a massive pendulum round. If G2 can win the opening round at attack and go to 5-2 on the scoreline.
Oh, they'll have very little pressure for quite a while.
And look at the other side of the stage. It's going to get there's going to be so much pressure on the NIP. Now, NIP do still have their timeout. It's worth keeping that in mind as we move on to the second half of this game. G2, they backed themselves. He used his timeouts, and they won a couple of rounds off the back of it. That was just really good. He saw something he didn't like on the attacks or on the defenses. They solved it. They get the 4-2 half.
Big games always have big moments. You never know when it's going to be your moment. Loira in 1 round, Blaz in another. We're talking about some crucial moments. And G2 won both of those. NIP haven't really had their moment just yet here on Lair that goes their way. They've controlled a lot of this game. They've been good in large patches, but in terms of the clutches and the 1vx's, 2vx's, that's where G2 have been more successful so far in the opening half, but they were on defense, and those are a bit more viable on defense. But as you said, this opening round now, the second half becomes oh so crucial. G2 make this 5-2, and NIP are sweating bullets.
It's not even the scoreline, though. It's the fact that G2 won so many close rounds. Apart from 1 round where they dominated by winning over by server, every round was like a 1v1 or a 1v2. It was brought to the brink. You think back to that big play where it was a 2 versus 4, and they're able to get it over the line. So for NIP, stand strong on the defense. G2 will work incredibly hard clearing it. Now, something worth noticing is the fact that Cons is inside operational room. Does Alamau know? Is there a drone? I don't think
he's got no idea.
He's no clue. This could be disaster. Yeah, Oh, no, he misses!
Oh, okay. We'll talk about the timing there as Alamau ducked down. Alamau, by the way, is still on 3 kills since the opening round. After he dropped to that bot comment, fortunately his teammates are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But Cons, well, the sneaky clash finds the opening pick, and boy, does that make this round far more comfortable for NIP to kickstart their own defensive half. No Roteros, no Flores, and though now no Azami. Big pick from Loira. He goes to 7 kills, leading the way for G2.
Minute and 30 seconds to go. 4 versus 4. The clash is still alive as Cons will control Mez, and Stompin might be the next player to push this way as he will try to push over from that operational room. But Cons, he's going to step on it. You've got Clash. It's so easy to step out and look over by Skybridge, clear that 90-degree angle, and then move back. But Stompin pushes in the Mez now, but he's got no supports.
Shot in the back. No one watching towards the mezzanine. A lack of position here from the defenders. The Clash will be down temporarily. Doki shuts down Pino. The smoke coming to try and aid the situation. Blaz now feels comfortable to vault in towards display. A peek at the doorway from Hate, and then falls back. Now, Cons did get brought back up, so that is Shield standing. 40 seconds left, though. Still a big advantage for G2 here to find an attacking round to kickstart the second half.
Cons, as you said, is so low here as well. So with 30 seconds to go, a C4 will be sent out to the Abyss, and they're going to get no value off the back of it. But Clash needs to stand and hold this position. The orange silhouettes are stacking up. 15 seconds to go. Stompin with the case. If he can get something off a Wizard, G2 can take this round.
He's low, though, and he does get knocked down. 10 seconds left. You have the time for the revive. Apparently you do. 7 now deep into red time. Wizard will stay prone behind the desk. Big nitro from Hate. Big kill as well from Wizard. Stompin's now down, and time runs out entirely for G2. NIP able to stall out long enough. Cons, he got knocked, but he got brought back up. And he was able to do enough towards the server side of the map to keep them at bay for as long as possible on that clash. And Hate's on site doing a decent job as well. Full credit to NIP, because Gibson, it looked like it was slipping away from them.
It really did, and it's not like G2 to lose a round to triple zeros as well. So at that point, you gotta think NIP win a crucial round in this game. They start off their defense the right way, and now they're going to look to tie the sides as we're going to go for that site swap. Now, it does look like they've gone down to the basement, so as we said, it's a site which you pointed out, 60+% win rate for the defenders on the site, and in SL, this is an SL team. They'll be hoping that the stats ring true in this game.
51% attacker, though, for EML. Again, it's funny how the overall defensive win rate on Lair between the two regions is actually quite equal.
Yep.
But it's the sites that are a little bit different in the way that they're all played and the numbers. Certainly G2 had some opportunities, but also so did NIP to probably ground down an easier round win, considering they got that opening pick onto Alamau. They had the early 5v4, but then Cons gets caught running through sight in the back, through the doorways, and then that kind of changed things a little bit, and I felt like midway through that round, G2 certainly got themselves into an advantaged position, but just failed to capitalize. Credit to NIP, though. And boy, we're getting a really good finish here on Lair, because we didn't really get this back and forth on the opening 2 maps.
Talk about getting downed in like the perfect position as well, where they've got cover that you can't get flushed out, and that came back to help NIP. It really bit G2 with that one. A Stompin could not take advantage, but as we go down to the basement, you've got, what, 2 defenders playing in sight. One's by Tetris, one's by Lab, and then way up around the rest of the map is a top floor push. Now, Scopos, one of the things that G2 did not do well on this site was they lost the Scopos early. I want to see if NIP can play that operator a little bit better, use it to waste more time, and then choose the correct time to drop back to site.
Scopos is very much a hit-and-miss operator. It doesn't always necessarily work out, but if it does, it can be so impactful. Early Logic Bomb from Stompin. Good drone work as well here from Alamau. Has eyes on Fantasy inside of Lab.
Yeah, look, it's fully horizontal. So they're ignoring the top floor completely. They're going to push way over from the east to the west, as they make their way through the map. A lot of presence inside of lockers here and barrels for the defenders. Doki, he's going to just walk in towards Missile Extent. There's nobody there. Pino was really far back. They're giving up so much of this map for free to G2. And with that being the case, Stompin...
Because they got Vert.
Yeah.
They're hoping that G2 go for this horizontal push without clearing above in terms of briefing. But Stompin now in security. Vlad's also going first floor. G2 will do their due diligence and look to put the pressure on that first floor. And Logic Bomb Deathmark, by the way. But Hate finds the opening pick onto Stompin, so he lost that battle. And then Cons with a double kill as well. And suddenly, it all falls apart for G2. The attack is null and void. It's flawless from NIP. G2 was setting up, but never got going. Stuck in first gear, and we are tied on Lair.
They walked exactly into the trap that NIP had set. They literally wanted G2 to push horizontally for the main factor of the push, and then just have a little bit of presence on the top floor. They take advantage, and the sides are level. Round 9. Can NIP get into the lead now on defense, or can G2 on the tertiary site turn things back into their favor?
And if NIP take this round, it'll be 3 in a row, and that's when the doubt starts to creep into the mind of G2. Do we know how to attack this map? Do we know what we're doing here? How do we break down this defense? And it also means that for NIP defensively, you do that well too. You go through 3 bomb sites, and then guess what? You get to do that again. Put so much pressure on G2. Usually 5-5 comes the very crucial breakpoint kind of round, especially on a third map like this. But right now at 4-4, that almost feels similar in nature. Because if NIP win this, you get to go back to a primary site, and suddenly you could be looking at 6-4 the scoreline.
I think this stream as a whole has had the more entertaining games. I think if you've been hanging out with us over the course of the last few days, you're getting rewarded for the bang for your buck. But we are so close to the conclusion of this game.
Again, it's going to come down to these moments. Yep. It really will. In the first half for G2, they won their moments. They took them with both hands. But now, in this second half, we haven't probably had a position like that eventuate, come to fruition, but it certainly will in these next couple of rounds, and you've got to be ready for it. Might be a 1v2 or a 2v3, 2v4. They're all winnable.
Look at the decision-making of the lineup as well. Alamau has brought the shotgun with the Ying, which tells you that they want to play this so up close and personal with that operator, Stompin and Doki, preparing to make their way in through the, you got some pressure by Skybridge, you got Blaz not too far away, but NIP have drawn a line across this map, and they're saying, we're going to give you everything up to this point, and then you're not going to go no further. Now, Lyra will go for the backstab for the side of G2, and it does come push to shove, but with so many players still outside the map, they're going to look for that first pick, and I'm looking at the drone economy. They've got plenty to work with, they've got a ton of utility, but they've got to make it work.
Slow creep from Doki here through the Skybridge, but he's flashed by the own Kendala from Alamau. Doesn't really change a lot though, down towards green. Oh, Fantasy though, tucked in. Lyra will drone him. Fantasy will move off the back of that drone, starting to feel the pressure from 2 different positions. Doki still pushing down green stairs. Fantasy now full white. They've got to find this kill. They actually find one onto Hate. He goes down at the hands of Blaz. Fantasy went prone and no one came in his direction. Still on the stairs though, goes for the run. Holding was Cons. Yeah, Doki kept the shield up because of Cons. The Azami gave him cover, but G2 have the advantage.
Yeah, he got away with that one. He managed to get back to site. Now, you still have lost one, but just like that, Wizard will level the sides once more. But Blaz keeping pressure on the side of G2. Over now by that security side. Cons will hold inside the side, making sure nobody can walk in. 45 seconds. Get on. You look at what G2 are doing right now. Nobody's actively droning.
Cons
and Cons
again!
gets the kill.
Taking the battle through briefing, but it's Doki with the pistol of all players. Slight advantage for G2, and the ROU goes out. Shield screen up, but Wizard finds the kill onto Doki. Stomp and Lyra, the 2 players you would want in this position, now down to 1. And it's the rookie himself in a crucial 9th round. 1v2, 20 seconds. Can he make it happen towards green stairs? Pino and Wizard isolated by themselves. Stompin', you've got to go. You've got to move. This could be your moment here in this match. Wizard will fall back and plays the time, and he plays it well, and there is no kit in hand. And right now, no chance at all given to Stompin'. NIP dared not push forward. They go 5-4 up, and G2 are on the ropes.
And G2 let another round go away. They were in a position to get the one. They got the opening kill. You had a player trapped below the stairs. You allowed him to get back to site. And then those toxic canisters just blew open everything you had. There was nothing Stompin' could really do at that point. NIP, they moved to 5 rounds on the defense. A clean sweep on the opening half of their defending phase. G2 now trailing here on Lair. G2 need to win 2 rounds on attack just to force overtime, and I don't see it happening here.
Well, they haven't done it so far in this half at all. 3 rounds straight now for NIP. Defense prevailing here on Lair. 10th round coming up. NIP now 1 round away from match and series point. Semi-final point could be on the other side of this round unless G2 can finally break through on the attack. In fairness to Stompin', the way that was played in a 1v2 with so low on time, he never, ever had a chance to win that with the way that NIP played it. They did not give him any opportunity to create a highlight reel moment.
And Wizard just retreated. That's all he had to do.
Yep.
Just keep retreating around the corner. You know Stompin's going to hunt for the kills in that situation. They've played it really well. Like NIP, they don't win games based off one-star player just dismantling a team.
Well, it's a team effort, and it needs to
Exactly.
be. You're playing at this level, you can't just have a single player be the main show.
Doki and Stompin' and Alamau all have been quite... You pointed out, still another round where Alamau has not gotten a kill.
He's 3-1. He's 3-8. That is insane. But he's also now playing a role where I think he understands it's not my day. I can help facilitate the Ying, the Candelas. But whose day will it be for G2 to try and make this happen? Now turning into a comeback as they were 4-2 up. It has been a little bit topsy-turvy for them. They've had good moments and certainly bad moments.
Going live.
So they're going to try to open up that wall now that gives them direct access in towards Mass. Now I'm looking at the breach. It doesn't really look, at least to what I can tell, like the cleanest breach in the world, but you'll wrap around the other side, you'll open up the other wall. They're at least at the meantime setting up to go for a mask plant. And now I know a lot can change in 2 minutes, but that looks like what the objective is. Doki will go down below. He'll try to clear Mez with those fire bolts at some point. You can see for NIP, Pino is going to push down the stairs. He might just meet Doki at that point, but here up at the window, here's that gunfight I was just speaking about.
Pino did go for a little peek down main stairs. Found a loitering Doki. Gas bait, free drone. Hello and goodbye. 5 drones remain now for G2. 90 seconds, flashbang. Looking to push forward and looking to clear out this smoke, and Doki gets the entry to go his way. Doesn't need to over-aggress. Knows that Fantasy's holding that mezzanine position. Pulls out the bolt, but Fantasy's got the bullet into the head of Doki. Not the time for the crossbow. Evens things up now for NIP.
Yeah, and at this point now, Fantasy full control of Mez. Alamau with the case over by Operation Room will need to take the fight. Cons is just tucked in the corner as well. Now as it stands, Blaz will rotate over towards Bathroom as another Candela goes off, and Loira will make it a 5 versus 3 as things stand. But they need a little bit more. They're going to use the shotgun, make yourself a rotate move, but you're still nowhere near sight here, Jake.
40 seconds, couple of drones. There's not a lot of information now for G2. We're talking about doorway swings and having to find these people. I think that might have been a missed drone as well onto Hates. Loira coming outside Bathroom now. Wizard up close. Still has a nitro, but he never elects for it. Went for the shotgun. The knife from Loira onto Wizard. Plus the headshot onto Hates opens up this round. Cons in a 1v2. And they make it a 3 though with the revival onto Stompin'. G2 certainly have the numbers. Can Cons play the time? Takes contact with 1. Expecting the push to come through from Server, but Loira the Demon shows up in Cons Nightmares. We are tied on this final map.
That means we are going to see every single round in regulation to separate these two teams and potentially even more. G2, a lot of good things. Doki took the ground early, won the fight, but Fantasy got the kill, and you thought, oh, this is going to be maybe an opportunity for NIP to close it out. But Stompin walked in at an impact, and it forces the NIP timeout. They've saved it in the back pocket. There's just 2 rounds in regulation left. We're going to see both of them. One of these two teams is going to get the opportunity to close this one out before overtime. We said it, G2 hadn't won an attacking round yet. They win it after a clean sweep from NIP. They still need to win at least one more for overtime. Or could they even find 2?
7-3 on Kafe to G2. 7-4 on Bank to NIP. A series that hasn't really been close in nature. Now tied 5-5 on the final map. Who can get themselves semi-final point, and at the very least, the comfortable OT at minimum. The 11th round, it beckons, it calls. It's Master and R6. G2 finally breakthrough on the attack. Loira has been so sensational at this event. He's doing it once more. Now 12-5 and leading the troops in this do or die quarterfinal.
Going to go to the same site once more. So NIP have said, right, you've won it. We can go back, we can do it again. They spoke during the timeout. They decided they want to play this site to give themselves a chance to go. Now, what have they done to change things up? Hates will switch on over to the Mira. It's a mute smoke combo as well. Azami with the Kiba barriers can create a lot of angles that can be difficult for those attackers to push. But on the other side of the coin, what are G2 going to do? They brought the Ying last time. They brought Doki once more on the Capital. So they're not changing anything here either. G2, like what they have for the site, I'm going to dare say they pulled out round black from the blink, so they didn't even get to execute the attack that they wanted to. So there's no reason why they can't bring the same 5 operators.
Reloaded. Starting shock drone.
This opening kill is going to be so crucial. G2 themselves back in EML, not known really for being the best entry team, only a 46% entry rate, but they're the best team at converting when they do get it at a whopping 82%.
It's not bad.
It would set them up beautifully. Alamal's still 3 kills, by the way. We'll just keep tabs on that one. But Loira's doing the heavy lifting, and that's all that matters. NIP go top floor. Master R6. It's the safe site. That's where they'll feel comfortable. But right now, I don't know how any of the 10 players inside of the server could feel comfortable.
I think while all that was going on too, they mirror tricked, you know, the impact tricked through the mirror window, that opening attempt at a breach, which doesn't allow them the ability to walk in through that section of the map. Now Stompin is still out on that balcony. As things stand, you can safely play there because there's nobody over by Skybridge at this moment in time from NIP. Alamao's going to drone out. Remember, does he see how careful he was to drone that little corner in operation room this time? There's no misdroning this time. It ain't going to happen again.
Well, there's no clash on the board, though.
No.
Obviously banned that one out. But still wanting to make sure that no errors once again happen. A little bit slow this round, though, from G2, but top floor there can play out that way.
They've already taken Mez, though. Like, Alamao's already pushed up there. The Keeper bar is going to climb, but Fantasy's going to fall. So G2 have taken a vital bit of control as things stand. Alamao finds another kill in a 4 versus 3
Cons
here.
can't get away.
Stompin with another 4v2.
They
G2.
pick the pace up suddenly out of nowhere, and it catches NIP off guard. Wizard to the shotgun. Can't even find the down, but eventually the kill on the reswing from Alamao overcooks a little bit, but Wizard low on health. A 3rd kill found for Stompin. Hates is all that's left, and G2 now suddenly on the verge of finding match point at the conclusion of this round, unless Hates can pull off something rather special. A flash, the Nacho was thrown, but it's G2 that have fought back. Match series point to the EML champions. NIP must now force overtime here on Lair.
That is the loudest G2 have been all through today. They are going to get the opportunity to win this 2 times in a row. NIP brought us to the same site, and 2 times in a row, it was the same outcome. G2 win the round. NIP now have 1 chance to force overtime. If you ask me where I would go if I were them, I'd be going down to the basement. But They have a different thing in mind. They're going to go over towards that storage side, you know. So with that being the case, what do you got to do? NIP, we talked about not giving G2 early picks. That last round, G2 just walked in the maze and found 2.
Well, it's relief. And pressure may be lifted off the shoulders of G2. Even just if it's temporary for this one round, you now can play a little bit more free. Overtime secured. The same cannot be said for NIP. Yes, they're on defense, but they will be feeling the pressure. 5-6. After they won 3 rounds straight and set themselves up nicely with a 5-4 lead. Since then, G2 seemingly out of nowhere flipped the script and have now got match and series point, looking ahead to that semi-final. Can NIP make one last stand and force overtime on Lair? They must not play scared. They must not give total map control to G2 and just fall back. You've got to take the ballsy fights. You've got to go at them.
So hard for NIP, though, to not feel the pressure right now. You lose this round, not only will you see G2 progress, you go home. And the money, that even for the next round, is a massive jump on what they find in this position. Stompin will walk inside of Operation Room with the case in hand. Fantasy is not a million miles away as vertical control will be held by the members of NIP. 3 players not too far away as Wizard will look to put pressure on anybody who walks in as he currently stands in our 6 room. But look, a couple of those toxic canisters have been used already and there was nobody there. They threw the toxic canisters off the base of a drone.
Just feels a bit quiet inside of the server as G2 go hunting, looking to make these entry positions. NIP at the ready. Pino inside of storage. Stomping with the kit once again. Default shot out. 5 drones remain for G2 with half the round still playing Fantasy with a little bit of a creep here at the moment. Still top floor in server. Could he catch someone off guard from G2? Stomping to clear out through Master. Still need to deal with Pino. There is still this top floor pressure from NIP.
And by opening up that server wall, it makes things a little bit more difficult for Fantasy now, who's going to have to tuck himself into another corner, which will give Stompin one less thing to worry about. Plaz might put pressure on towards R6 room as he will step in now. Wizard tucked not too far away, but you look, Pino, Alamao's not too far away. He's going to swing around the corner.
Takes the fight.
This could be the fight.
And Alamao wins it. It's a crucial win against Pino. And he got the second onto Wizard. Yes, Cons get one, but then the second to follow. So crucial from Cons because it looked like it could have been down and out for NIP. And suddenly it's only Stompin left in the 1v3 as NIP will hold strong in this match point round.
He's got to go for the res. You've got to get him back on your feet. You have the time, and all the members of NIP have
They couldn't,
fallen.
could they?
They could, but they've fallen back to sight. Can Stompin and Blaz get this done?
20 seconds, as you said, for Blaz and Stompin, but now minus Blaz. But plus Stompin is maybe all you could need in this moment. 1v3. But no shutdown, no rookie is going to do that to NIP, and we go to overtime in this quarterfinal.
Okay, this is going to be big. We saw 2-4-2 halves. G2 activated at the very end of their attacking half. Overtime, though, NIP get the advantage of starting on defense.
They get double defense, it sets them up. That was the opportunity for G2 to close it out and progress to the semi-final. NIP double defense is pretty nice to be in their position.
And the site's going to be Lab. If I remember right, it was was it a flawless, or at least very close to being so for NIP the last time they defended this site. Remember, you pointed out 51% was what, so 1 in every 2 rounds the attackers would win on the site, but in Brazil, it is a defender's fortress.
62% in Brazil.
Yep. I'm so ready. I'm
gonna
so
pause
ready.
though, just to keep the tension flowing as we have a little pause. And by the way, we've now gone Bunk's briefing.
It's changed.
It's changed. I feel like they do this on purpose, by the way. Like
They've
it's
done it twice.
They've done it twice. a little bit yesterday as well, and there's a bit of similarity, is there not, Gibson, in terms of the Furia W7M matchup that closed out yesterday. Now this to start today. The B-Stream's been quite fortunate. So 6-6 between NIP, G2, final map. Everything that has happened to this point, you could disregard, it's irrelevant, does not matter. Comes down to potentially 3 rounds of Siege to decide if you progress to the semi-final. Both teams, you could argue, deserve it. Only one is going to be capable of moving forward.
And it's funny because we obviously know it's the all North American matchup happening after 3 rounds at most. I saw some of the SSG players actually stop to watch this game for a while when they're supposed to be doing some last second break. I'm captivated. They are. It is 6-6. It's overtime. It is home or through for these teams. And as you said, the matchup doesn't get any easier. You know, you've got a tough opposition at the end of this game, but you know for a fact you've been in one. And at this point, both sides have been excellent. One side excellent, Kafe. The other side were phenomenal on Bank. Whoever wins this will have earned it. What is it the free is over here? Nothing is granted, everything is earned.
Exactly. Nothing is granted. Who's going to earn the right to play in the semi-final? Is there just a little bit more magic to come our way in this quarterfinal matchup? The fairy tale run of NIP from a South American League stage that saw them make top 3, re-announce themselves, it feels like, to the international world of Siege. G2, EML champions, and so much notoriety now on this roster, and expectation that's been applied, and overtime to separate these two to decide who will advance forward. G2 on the attack. Alamau got himself off those 3 kills and started to shine towards the end of the regulation.
And it's been off the back of that Ying shotgun again, and Doki once more will bring the Capital, but Loira finds the opener on the Fantasy. Down goes the Goyo, but the utility should be placed. But opening kills have been so vital for G2.
They have, and as I said before, they've got an 82% conversion rate when they find opening kills in EML. Will that apply here? Player up for G2, 90 seconds. How do they utilize this advantage? Can NIP bring this round back? Otherwise, G2 will once again acquire another match and series point. G2 will remain slow. They keep the pace the same. They don't change their course of action. Plenty of drones and plenty of information still that they can acquire in this round. They don't need to overcook.
Alamau flicking through those cams at the moment as well, because of course when you're on Ying's shotgun, you got to wait for the right moment to get active in the round so he can feed information to the team.
They've got so much information and so much utility. They're well set up into this final minute.
It's going to help them for sure. Loira's going to vault into bathroom now as he will move towards server where Wizard will be waiting. Pino tucked in the corner. Khan's behind the desk inside of A. The push comes in. Alamau with a shotgun again will find that kill to make it a 5v3.
He's found what works for him. Candela into shotgun swing. And Wizard will fall as well. And G2 starting to tear apart this defense of NIP. Cons and Pino. All that remain, and Pino will fold as well, and so does Wizard, and it's a flawless start to overtime for G2. They get to go defense now as well. 2 more opportunities for G2 to close out this quarterfinal. Now suddenly, NIP on the ropes once again. Can they keep fighting though from that position?
This is what happened yesterday on the game. The team that started on defense was Furia. They lost that round. They had to force an attacking win to take it all the way. NIP, you need to win an attack or your EWC journey ends here and today. What do you got to do? Win the site that G2 just did. We're going to the top floor once more. NIP, do you have it in you?
Master and R6. Defense now for G2. 2 opportunities for G2. 1 now still here on defense. If this does not work, then they get a final one at 7-7. And it was Alamau that I think has been a big reason why they've gotten themselves into this position. His work at the back end of regulation. And now to start overtime, finding entry picks. making good use of those Candelas and allowing others to then play off of the position that he then opens up. NIP on the attack though, it's been a while, but don't forget in the first half, they probably should have been 3-1 up. They are capable.
Yep.
But now they must win this round or they will be heading home from the Esports World Cup.
Crazy how he was able to recognize the shotgun. If you continue to push over towards storage in those short corridors, you'll always have the advantage. But it is now NIP who need to crack G2. Mira was brought by Stompin inside of this round. You've got a lot to deal with. Todoki, we saw him play Tachanka before. It's the exact same setup, if needs be. Doki will, of course, just play inside of our 6 room, right by that rotate, and send the Sumikas over towards the door. Now, it does look like the Ace has opened up the wall that looks in towards Mez from Operation Room. That will give them a line of sight, but nobody from G2 is going to peek there yet. Lyra is playing a position that is all about audio. Look at the stack up on the balcony outside between Wizard and Cons as they're going to open up that mask wall.
Reinforced wall becomes soft on the left side. Know that NIP's pacing at times can be slow, and certainly on this side it may then compound on that, but they need to make sure they don't leave themselves low on time. That's when the stress and the nervousness nature starts to creep in the final 20, 30 seconds, and you start to make rushed decisions. I'd like to see NIP try and do something a bit earlier, maybe 40, 50 seconds rather than 20, 30.
Cons now pushing over Skybridge towards storage. That fight that Cons won earlier on a map today against Alamau. But as they push over, they've now, I believe, opened up both sides of that mask wall, and Cons will reposition off the back of it. He wants to get through that gap and get the plant down. Doki and Lyra are the 2 players you really need to worry about at this point. You can see that Fantasy's going to hold the angle, but Stompin could get a big flank. He could be the key for this one.
Stompin can swing.
Gets one.
Stompin could swing, defend that mezzanine position over towards the server hallway. Blaz, big pick onto Cons, advantage for G2.
Case is cold.
Flash goes out on the Stompin swing, but he doesn't lose his life. No, never mind, he does. From behind comes Hates. He pushes together with Fantasy. 30 seconds, 3v3.
Case is cold. They're all stacking up now on the door. Fantasy will walk into sight on the other side, but we're sitting on board with Hates. He's holding the cover, he's holding the crash, but with 25 seconds to go.
Blaz will play back, but he gets spotted. Long angle found from Fantasy, and the case gets picked up, and now looking to get put onto the ground inside of Mars, but Fantasy will fall. 12 seconds left. He picks it up in the flames, but Hates will fall too. Wizard needs to find this last kill or stick the kit. He will go for the latter inside of Mask. Alamau to creep forward and find the kill and gets it done.